I've interviewed 2 different Epstein survivors, and what they've told me has been astounding. As you guys know, in the last few weeks, all that I think I've been able to talk about is the Epstein files. In the last few weeks, we have seen Epstein's disgusting, dirty network exposed. We have seen presidents, current presidents, ex-presidents, global business leaders, tycoons, entertainment figures, and so many more different types of individuals all wrapped up in Epstein's sphere of influence. We've also seen extremely horrific allegations, which I've gone into on my second channel, The Conspiracy Files. And at this point, we've seen documents, we've seen investigative notes. I've read through thousands upon thousands of pages of documents relating to Epstein. I've practically driven myself crazy researching all of this, but there is a certain group of people that we haven't really heard from in the files themselves, and that is survivors of Epstein's crimes themselves. Now, something I want you to keep in mind is that the DOJ and FBI refuses to bring in Epstein survivors to interview them. They don't want to talk to them. Survivors are practically begging the FBI/DOJ to bring them in and interview them, but they won't. And that's just one facet of the cover-up. You know, on this channel, we've done some really in-depth documentaries talking about these sorts of cover-ups. I mean, they're institutional, whether it's the North Fox Island ring, the Elm Guest House in London, the Mark Dutroux ring, all of these rings and these individuals and evil people, these so-called conspiracies around them are being fully validated by all of these documents and emails. I mean, I feel like I've been going crazy for the last few years talking about these sorts of issues. And, you know, I've gotten a lot of shit for it. A lot of people have called me crazy or been extremely rude to me. And yet here we are seeing a modern day incarnation of exactly what I've been talking about being exposed in real time. We are seeing the fallout. We are seeing the investigations. We are seeing the cover up. We're seeing it live. So I knew that something that I wanted to do was speak to survivors of Epstein's to try to allow them to tell their stories, because I've seen so many interviews with survivors and they're really canned and they don't really let these women speak and just talk, and they don't really listen. The interviewers that I've seen, typically when they interview survivors, have an agenda and they want to ask these certain questions and they want to get these certain bites out of people. But that's not how I operate. As I told both of these amazing, strong women that you're about to hear from, I just sit here and listen. You know, if I have a question, I'll bring it up, but I really just want to hear your story. So today, we're seeing something incredibly special here on the Paranormal Files. In the next few weeks, we're going to be doing some documentaries exposing individuals like this and going back into that territory like we did with the North Fox Island video and Midnight Productions and Mark Dutroux. Yeah, there's some really big changes coming to the channel soon that we're going to have a little chat about, but I'm going to save that for another day. That's going to come after the end of our UK/Ireland/Italy series, which we still have about a month or two left with. But yeah, the first woman that I'm going to play you the interview with is Beatrice. Beatrice is an incredible person, and she was victimized by the current president of the United States of America, Donald Trump. And, you know, I don't want to explain or tell Beatrice's story for her, so let's just cut to her interview now. Cravings aren't just about nicotine, they're about the habit. That hand-to-mouth motion, the oral fixation, the momentary pause. But when that loop is broken, cravings spike. I know this from firsthand experience because I used to vape, and I'm just going to admit it. And obviously you guys know that I've been through a recovery journey, but when I got sober, vaping was the last thing that I was doing that was damaging to my health. And I successfully quit vaping last summer, about May of last year, 2025. And one thing that really helped me quit was my Fume device. Fume replaces your habit with a flavored air fidget device that gives your hands and mouth something to do, distracting cravings without nicotine, vapor, or batteries. Don't just try to quit, upgrade the loop and reach for Fume instead. Fume devices really helped me. Like I said before, I've been vape free and nicotine free for a long time now, and I couldn't have done it without the help of a device from Fume. Basically, it's like a non-electronic flavored air device that you can hit just like a vape or a nicotine product, and you inhale flavored air. No harsh chemicals, nothing that's gonna hurt you or harm you. But for me, it fulfilled that craving that I had to hit something, you know, when I was stressed out or whenever I was vaping. So if you're thinking about quitting or you need something to help you quit, definitely give Fume a try because it really helped me. When you grab a journey pack, you'll also get a free gift just for using my code TPF. Fume has already helped over 700,000 people take steps toward better habits. And now it's your turn. Just use my code TPF to get a free gift with your journey pack. Head to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com and use code TPF to get your free gift today. I don't take sponsorships from companies I don't believe in, and I used Fume and it really did help me quit vaping. So if you guys are looking for something and you're looking for that nudge, you're looking for that help to get healthier, Fume is a great place to start. But anyways, y'all, let's get back into the video.
Hi, Colin. Thank you so much for your time. And yes, I will find a few words about me. I am a bank employee who used to participate at Miss Switzerland, Miss Europe, and the famous event from so-called Donald J. Trump American Dream beauty pageant. That was about it, about pageants. And otherwise, I was active in banking and media. And it's not that much to say about me. I'm a very private person normally, but this story has had to come out because there are many victims involved, and also because I want to play a role to save these lives.
Real quick, guys, before we begin today's video, if you could just like the video, comment something in the comment section, let me know your thoughts, share the video out, subscribe to the channel. Those things help boost the video's visibility, and I want as many people in the United States and really the world as possible to see this interview because it's highly damning stuff, it's highly explosive stuff, and it's only through you guys that these videos reach more people. So if you could just do those really quick things for me and then continue watching the video, I would really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. But yeah, let's get back into it.
There are a few key dates that I would like to mention so that people have an idea of the big picture. And it all started with the Daily Mail article. It was October 30th in 24. And 3 days later, the Daily Beast brought out the Michael Wolff's audios with Epstein, confirming exactly what I said. Jeffrey was saying that he was Don's best friend for all these years. That was the first big moment. Then the second was the interview in The Sun regarding Prince Andrew. It was on October 4th in 25, and 13 days later, Prince Andrew has given up his titles Duke of York. So that's thinking, you know. Some people may say, oh, it's a coincidence, and so on and so forth. But I think, no, it's not a coincidence. And we are together today because I think, and I strongly believe, that the Epstein saga, it's me. And I really mean it. I was the trigger of something that was kept on hold for a long time for many people who knew a lot, but who didn't let the story out. It was kind of a catch and kill. And when they read my interview and my testimony in the Daily Mail, that's where many things happened. And I am glad from one hand and one side because it can help and save many lives. But I must also honestly say that I never ever thought that this Pandora box will contain that much horrific elements. I am myself also shocked by what is coming out each day. Of course, it's not everything. There is a lot coming more. I hope people are ready to listen. And I think compared to when it started a year ago, today people want the truth and they want to hear it. And even though it's horrific, they want to know what is behind this person that is called President of the United States. I think the truth will win one day. It is important that we are here now and we talk about all this and we go through all these elements, which are key elements, which also generated, the Daily Mail generated over 150 million views in no time when it came out, which means also a huge impact and on all continents and almost all languages. And I think today our society is ready. Our society was not ready in the 90s. It was not ready in the 2000s, without mentioning also the fact that the article in the New York Times has been taken over by Lawrence O'Donnell, and he has read it during his last word on MSNBC, which never happened to him. Normally, he gave his opinion. This time, he used this article in the New York Times, and he went through from A to Z, and I was very, very impressed by that, because it showed also that there are many people out there who want to know what is going on. And the question at this stage, I think, is not, is he guilty? The question is, how far is he guilty? And how deep is he guilty? And I think the DOJ should stop playing games, because we are talking about lives, real lives, women, children, and you don't want your daughters to be among them. You don't want your sisters to be among them. You don't want your family members to be among them. So today, it's not just my story. It is everybody's story. It can be a neighbor. It can be a family member. Today, we have to come together, and we can only be strong together. And I think it's clear for the public today that that's exactly the point, because they want this vicious circle to stop. So these were a few dates, a few key dates, a few elements. And I think only with this article, when I take the Daily Mail, Daily Beast, The Sun, and the New York Times, without mentioning all the other articles that came out in several languages, and other interviews I gave. With these key points, you have already an idea of the impact. And I will always be very grateful to all the journalists who have taken this story seriously, and who covered it seriously, and who are still investigating on many, many other sources that they have. And voila, we can continue as you wish.
You made so many good points there. It's like, anyways, we'll get to some of that with my thoughts. By the way, do you mind if I don't want to be rude, but while you're talking, is it okay if I eat this breakfast that I have?
Yeah, please. So, here it's almost dinner time, so no problem.
I didn't want to have you be going through something and I'm chowing down on this egg. So I just want to warn you that I might take a bite of this because it's hot.
I don't want you to die.
Well, thank you. I think to start, this is kind of unrelated. Well, I mean, it is related, but I'd like to hear, what was it like in the kind of beauty queen modeling industry back in those days when you were participating in that world? What was it like? I mean, what were the positive sides of it for you, and kind of what was your experience?
Well, generally speaking, it was a beautiful world in the sense that you travel, you meet high-profile people, you are invited everywhere. It's nice to see that part of the world as well, and it was a huge difference with my banking experience, because in banking, you have no margin for frou-frou and show business and all that. Everything is so serious in banking. And it was at the antipodes, from what I knew and what I was used to. So it was a little bit like a hobby for me. I didn't take it seriously. But in the same time, it was fascinating. There was this fascinating part, but there was also the very dangerous part, because you were exposed to people that you never knew before and you never met before. So it was full of surprises. My story is exactly the point. It was a big surprise and a big shock as well. So it can go well as it can go really bad. This is a little bit about that. Of course, I was lucky. I was 185, 60 kilo. So I from outside, I had it. But from inside, I was not convinced of that world, I was more into banking, into maths, into serious life. But I was lucky I could experience that. And it's a life chance, and I took it. The train was there. I took the train, but some destinations were full of bad surprises. And other I was nicely surprised. So it's a little bit of a mixture, But of course, it's a life chance. Not everybody is lucky enough to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strange world to me when it comes to pageants and those sorts of events, 'cause I've never been to one. I don't know, obviously. But to kind of get into your story, can you just kind of walk us through the sequence of events in 93, starting with kind of how you were invited to the pageant, leading up to the private meeting with Trump at the Plaza Hotel?
Well, it all started with Miss Switzerland and Miss Europe, where I participated, and I was also among the finalists. That was the nice part, well organized, traveling to Istanbul, Turkey. So it was really nice. And just afterwards, I got the personal invitation of Donald J. Trump to attend his Donald J. Trump American Dream beauty pageant. In the 90s, for us European, America was the absolute ultimatum dream. We were all dreaming of the American dream. And when you notice in this one sentence, Donald J. Trump American Dream beauty pageant, everything was in there. The American component, the American dream, and him in the 90s, who had very good publicity in the European media. He was so called at that time Mr. New York, and everybody was fascinated. When people around me heard about this invitation, they were all getting crazy, Lucky you, wow, how amazing, and America for the first time, and New York, and Trump, and the American dream. So, it was a mixture. And everybody was fascinated by all that. That's the reason also I accepted to go and to attend. And it was, how should I say? It was a dream come true. I was very positive. I was packing. I was happy. I was looking forward. And then it happened totally differently than I imagined to myself. And that's where I personally met Trump and Epstein at the press luncheon. So everything started smoothly. And then I turned from white to black, or black and white, as you want. And then the incident that was already related, in the press, I cannot go into details because otherwise we have to stop the interview. I cannot talk about it just like that. But in one word, it was horror. That's all I can say, horror.
So real quickly, to give you some context, I'm just going to read you a portion of this New York Times article that Beatrice appears in. It's pretty damning stuff, and if you haven't seen this is important stuff for people to see and to understand. In January 1993, Mr. Trump held another party at Mar-a-Lago, this one to kick off a beauty pageant he was bringing to Atlantic City with two business partners, George Harani and Jill Harth. 24 or so potential contestants were flown in to meet Mr. Trump. The only other guest at the party, Mr. Harani told The Times in 2019, was Mr. Epstein. During dinner that night, Ms. Harth alleged in a 1997 lawsuit, Mr. Trump groped her under the table, then cornered her in a bedroom normally used by his daughter Ivanka, and, quote, forcibly kissed, fondled, and restrained, end quote, her from leaving. Later, in the pre-dawn hours, she alleged in the suit, Mr. Trump also sneaked into a bedroom being used by a 22-year-old contestant. Climbing into her bed uninvited, he groped her too, according to the suit. And later on in the article it states, according to Mr. Epstein, he and Mr. Trump partied at his house too. In a 2015 email exchange with Landon Thomas Jr., then a Times reporter, he recounted a moment when Mr. Trump was so focused on young women swimming in his pool that he walked into a glass door. Mr. Epstein also referred to the 22-year-old contestant from that night in 1993, indicating she had pictures of, quote, Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen, end quote, and providing her email address. And then a little bit further down it states, in November 1993, Mr. Trump's chosen pageant contestants flew in from around the world for a week of events at his properties in New York and Atlantic City. At one point, Ms. Harth said in her lawsuit, Mr. Trump demanded that she provide him with, quote, access, end quote, to a 17-year-old Czech contestant. The suit does not say if she complied or if Mr. Trump met the contestant. Toward the end of the week, the contestants joined Mr. Trump for a press luncheon at the plaza. One contestant, Beatrice, then a bank employee and part-time model from Switzerland, said in an interview with The Times that during the event, one of Mr. Trump's employees asked her to meet privately with him in a suite upstairs. And this is the part in the interview that Beatrice didn't want to talk about with me on camera because obviously it was an extremely traumatic, horrific, disgusting event that, that she survived. Almost as soon as she arrived, Mrs. Kuehl said, Mr. Trump began groping her, kissing her, and trying to lift her dress. I yelled, I screamed, I pushed him, she said. He didn't want to give up. She said she was withholding some details of what happened because she had been subject to anonymous threats. Ms. Kuehl first described aspects of the episode to the Daily Mail last year. A friend, Pascal Clavaz, told the Times that Ms. Kuehl recounted the episode at the Plaza to him around 2004. Ms. Kuehl also provided the Times with pictures of documents corroborating her participation in the pageant and of herself with Mr. Trump. Also want to note one final thing before we move on. This story from Beatrice, this is taking place at the Plaza Hotel, obviously a hotel intimately linked to Donald Trump because of his ownership of the building, but it's also interesting because the Plaza Hotel was reportedly the location where modern-day sexual blackmail was really invented. I talked about this in a previous episode, and this comes from a scheme that Roy Cohn, who was also Donald Trump's mentor, was running in the hotel with the then head of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. Now, apparently J. Edgar Hoover liked to dress up in women's clothing, and he would throw these parties. They would all kind of have these events inside of what was called the Blue Suite at the Plaza Hotel. And Roy Cohn, J. Edgar Hoover, they would invite powerful people over to this suite, which was bugged and rigged with audio and video recording equipment. And then they would bring in either different people every time. Sometimes they were allegedly underage individuals. Other times they were young men that they were trying to capture on camera, sleeping with closeted politicians. But they were recording all of this stuff and, according to the stories, using all of that as blackmail against these powerful people. So there's a history of these events at the Plaza Hotel linked to a guy that's linked to Trump through Roy Cohn, and now you've got Epstein at the same hotel seemingly engaging in the same behaviors decades later. That to me is not a coincidence, but let's get back to the story.
It's related online, so maybe we don't go too much into it. There is a lot that has been written about and a lot that is coming. So I think so far, this is a little bit how it happened. So it happened by chance. He wanted me to come. He invited me personally, and I came. And Jeffrey Epstein was there too. So that's how it started.
So you go to the Plaza Hotel and you're at this party/event function. Can you set the scene? Like what did the party...
So it's a 1 week event, and one of the events were the press luncheon. And during the press luncheon, it's called, press was there. Trump came too, and he introduced himself. He came straight to me. We were talking for a very long time, and many people were looking around us like, what is going on here? The first thing he said, Miss Kuehl, finally we meet, and that these were his first words. Finally, we meet. That's how we started to talk for quite a long time. And we were supposed to sit at several tables with some press members. It was a coming and going. People were moving, beauty queens as well, from one table to another, giving interviews. So very formal, very normal so far, and a very good interaction with him also. So nothing suspicious, nothing crazy, but very intense because he was really interested in me. You have to imagine him at that time. He was younger and he was also a little bit better looking than today. So everything was fine in my eyes. So I was honored also that he was interested in me that far, and he clearly said, I will send you someone later on and we can continue this discussion. And that's when Jeffrey Epstein came, and then he introduced himself as Jeffrey, Don's best friend. The conversation went on then with Jeffrey, and I thought he's part of the organization, because at that time nobody knew anything. So I was talking with him just normally as I would have talked to other journalists, and I thought he's part of the team, of the crew,
What was, I've always wondered this. What was Epstein like? Like, how did he come off to you? Was he just nice and you wouldn't suspect anything strange? What did he have a weird aura to him?
Well, actually, as soon as Trump left, he came. So I guess this was something that they made up, something that they clearly said, okay, I did the introduction, now you go and you do the job. Huh? That's a little bit how I felt and how I later on understood also what was going on. Because clearly Jeffrey Epstein was recruiting girls, and he wanted me also to attend the Mar-a-Lago party. And he said that Don likes me very much, and he wants me to come to Mar-a-Lago. And then he came with this famous sentence, "I will take care of you," which was very strange for me as a European, because I was not handicapped. So why should a guy that I have never seen take care of me? So for me, it was very strange. I don't know the guy, never heard of him, never saw him. He wants to take care of everything, of flights, accommodation. I should just pack and come to Mar-a-Lago. I found it strange from someone that I never heard, just within seconds, just offer me the world. I didn't like him as a person, as a man. He was absolutely not my kind. He was very slimy, very, like a snake, like that, coming always closer. And then he saw that Mar-a-Lago was nothing for me. Take care of you didn't work with me. Then he went on and wanted to offer me to meet his friends, his billionaire friends. Again, I was like, okay, but I'm here at a beauty pageant. I don't know why you want me to meet your friends, I just didn't get the idea of where do you want to bring me, or why, and what should I do for it, Because it's very nice when you hear that I will take care of you, but it means that there is a counterparty. I have to give something. So I was wondering when he will tell me what was the counterparty that he expected from me. And then he saw it doesn't work either. And then he said, I have very famous friends, and among them royalty. And then I was like, okay, which royalty? Coming from Europe, I knew a few names. And then he came with Prince Andrew, and Prince Andrew didn't really have a great reputation at that time. People knew already that he's running after girls, and he had women's stories, and he was not the kind of prince you want to meet, at least not in my eyes, And I was not impressed either. So then he continued, flattering me, like, you have the charisma, you have the potential, and he said exactly that I belong to this Liga, More he was talking, less I could take him for serious, because it was too much, I came from a foreign country. I came here for a beauty contest, and he was trying to get me into another, I don't know where, And everything was weird and everything was strange. And that's when I realized that actually the guy, he is not here from the organization, but he's trying to recruit girls, He's trying to really to tell the girls what they want to hear. And there were many girls at this event who you could tell, I will take care of you, because they were there exactly for that, to find a guy, a rich guy, and the only thing they had to sell was their body, And I was not that type. I had already my diplomas, I had my money, I had an income, I was a bank employee. So for me, this kind of deal was absolutely no way, and I would not go into that deal. But many of those girls who were there, especially the American one, they were there to find a billionaire or a millionaire or whatever rich guy, I guess if they told them just, I will take care of you, it would be already enough for them, to be convinced. But I was not that easy, to be convinced. And also when he said you have the caliber, for this Liga, I was like, okay, how far is he going, How far is he trying to make me compliments, and how far is he going, What is he trying? He's really trying hard. And I was not the type of $200 a girl, you know. It was impossible for him to convince me. And therefore, then he tried with many other options and it didn't work. And he said, okay, so I should leave him my coordinates and my phone number and address. And so I said, yeah, but no, I don't have time for that. I have to go to the rest of the group. He said, well, anyway, he will get them from Dawn. So that's how we finally how finally managed to stop the conversation. But he was what I would call a professional women hunter because he knew exactly how to adapt, you know. If it's someone that is more from the poor side, he knew which budget he should offer so that they say yes. If it's more a high profile girl, then he knew, okay, I play this other card. And with me, he played all the big cards and nothing worked. Because for me, everything was suspicious. Everything. The way he was dressed, the way he was talking, the product he wanted to sell me, everything was strange and nothing that I was used to. And therefore, I found him weird, strange, like a bluffer, you know, when you bluff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the impression that he gave me, and that's what I guess also saved me from him because I just didn't believe what he's telling me. I just didn't believe. He didn't look like someone who has billionaires friends. He didn't talk like someone who has wealth, and he didn't give the serious any serious image of him. Not even a second. All this said with my European eyes, you know, I would have been American, I guess. I would have played the game, but I was not convinced.
He sounds very pushy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He wanted, at the end of the conversation, he wanted something from me. Absolutely. He was pushing, he was trying, he was super pushy, and he didn't get it. And then he almost got mad.
Really?
Yeah. He was very surprised that I say no to everything, and I mean, better cards than that he wouldn't have, you know.
So, with this conversation, how long did it last? Like 5 minutes, 10?
Oh no, over 10, 15. No, he was trying hard.
So you couldn't get
he
him,
was
shake him
trying
away.
seriously.
Like you just mentioned kind of how he was hunting. So you also saw him kind of talking to the other girls that were there,
Yeah,
making his way
absolutely. And
around.
yeah, absolutely. He went over to the others as well, and he's like a chameleon, you know. He adapts himself. He goes low if it's necessary. He goes high if it's necessary. But in the same time, you know, coming from the banking side, I was used to very, very wealthy people. I can recognize a real one from a fake one. For me, it was clear something doesn't match. It doesn't match with what he's saying and the way he looked and the way he behaved.
That's what I've heard. You know, I've talked to other people who've spoken out against Epstein. I just haven't like interviewed them kind of formally. And it's all these different trafficker figurehead guys like Epstein, or in the Franklin thing, it was a guy named Larry. Everyone always talks about them the same, where they had a lot of money behind them, but they didn't seem like they fit in with the rich people. It's strange.
Absolutely. No, he didn't have the profile for that, and he tried hard. He tried hard to play that kind of person, and even though he was trying hard, for me it was not convincing at all. And always, you know, more and more and more. And at a certain stage, I was thinking, is he going to bring me $1 million on the table, or just to come, or what is the next, you know, the next level? How far is he going to get me there?
So talking about that, I mean, he was trying to get you to Mar-a-Lago. Did he go into much detail about what he would be doing there, or why you'd be going to Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, great parties with Dawn, having fun, chilling, and all expenses paid. I wouldn't have to worry for anything. He would take care of everything. I can even fly back home first, and then he would send me tickets and accommodation, everything, and lots of fun, great parties with Dawn.
At Mar-a-Lago.
At Mar-a-Lago and with him, and he organizing everything and taking care of everything. I just had to pack, he said. You just need to
Wow.
pack and everything is offered and you will have lots of fun with Don at his party in Mar-a-Lago.
You see, I've always felt even before the Epstein story really became like what it is, even back when Trump was first elected in 2016, and people were talking about the pageants and all these events, I always had the feeling that it was more like he was using that ownership of that organization to get access to young, oftentimes impressionable girls and women. So then hearing like your story, obviously, that is exactly what it sounds like was happening. But now you've got Epstein in the mix, which adds a whole nother level to the whole thing.
Yeah, and they were not only the two of them. There is a third person that I cannot name now, who is extremely famous, extremely influent in the model business, who was working with them. They were the three predators, one beauty pageant.
Was this a woman that was working with them?
It was a man.
There's a man in the beauty
It was a
business.
man. Three
Interesting.
predators, one beauty contest. In other words, they were working together, and this is what we call here organized crime. Trump was in charge of the beauty queens, Epstein of the poorer segment, and the third guy of models. And with that said, you covered the spectrum of women kind.
So what was the third guy's role in all of this? Was he kind of doing the same thing, like just talking to people and trying to convince them to
Exactly like
come?
Epstein. I will take care of you. You just have to come. I offer you this and that and everything, and it's going to come later.
Wow, I'm
Yeah,
excited to hear you
yeah.
talk about
No, no,
that
it was
eventually.
it was a playground. They used this as a playground, and another point, which is also interesting for you, is that this beauty pageant happened in November, and the same November, a few days later, another event was planned too, where I was supposed to go to as well, and then the third event in Mar-a-Lago. So if you take within 1.5 or 2 weeks, there were about 65 girls for the beauty pageant, and they were over 40 for the other event, and then about 40 for the other. So let's make it round 60 plus 40 plus 40. We are about at 140 women already within 1 week. And I guess that was a good week.
It's a lot of potential victims for 1 week.
Oh, yes. Oh,
One
yes.
week of 1 month of one
That
year.
was just 1 week, just one week, and then you can count for the whole year.
Yeah, that's
But maybe
unfathomable.
not all weeks were that successful because he didn't have a beauty pageant each week. But it happened to be exactly the time when I was there and where I could have landed in these three events. One I did, and the other two I was invited, but I didn't go. So a good 140 girls in a good week and a half. It's a good average if you count on 1 year.
And if people didn't know better, obviously back then, or they didn't get they didn't read Epstein like you did, or Trump really, it's so easy to see how someone could be pulled into that web, the money and the flashy parties and just kind of a glitzy, glamorous experience. I think it's hard for a lot of people to understand why so many people often, especially with the Epstein story, went along with it. Like obviously they didn't choose to go along like many of the girls who were underage. That's no matter what. But you can see like if he really played it up, why it would be appealing to kind of just dip your toe in the Epstein Trump water. People obviously you could never understand what really was happening until you're there, which is the
Well,
really scary part.
Well, I understand it very well because I experienced it and I know exactly. I met them. I was invited to all these places, so I know what I'm talking about. Of course, when in the 90s all this happened, there were only very few people in New York who knew what is going on, and they were not talking because they were involved. So the game continued and is continuing maybe even today. The idea was, okay, I either be quiet for my entire life or I bring it out because with the distance and with the time, you understand all these key people who were playing a role in this organization, and there are many others. It was very routine, very meticulous, very well organized. It was not difficult for them to get girls. So when you cover the entire spectrum, of the womankind, if it's young or middle age or young or just beauty pageants from I don't know from which age they started, but until beauty pageant age, yeah, there is a big selection, and it's ongoing. It's never out of season. It's always the season. What makes me mad is that many people knew and nobody did anything. At the contrary, they even contributed and they even brought more girls. Nobody stopped them. And today we understand why they didn't stop them, because there was a whole system that was involved. Society has a certain evolution, and now we are in 2026, and in 2026, finally, we can talk. We can say what happened with the distance, and someone has to stand up. Someone has to stop this violence for free, because we don't bring children on the planet to destroy them. That's not the idea of parents who need to be responsible to protect them. The idea is not to create children to give it to these sick people. Sick people should go to doctors and find solutions. But
Yeah, or
I don't
prison
see
too.
why. Yeah, I don't see why we have to sacrifice our children for that. But many people knew. I'm convinced today that many people knew. Many participated. I have also other experiences. Yeah, it was an omerta. It's called omerta when people know and they don't do anything and they just let it happen. And that's criminal too.
100%. And with Epstein, you know that obviously there were thousands and thousands of people in the orbit that knew, at least knew something, and no one ever did a thing at all. I mean, there were victims who tried to raise the alarm, but the people in power never, still to this day, I mean, that no one's
Yeah,
gone down for it.
that's the point. Still to this day, that's the point. Yeah.
I mean, imagine if they actually were to actually investigate this and start knocking on doors and subpoenaing people, like you're saying, some of the people in this room for this one event, where that could go if these people talked.
Yeah,
But they've never done
absolutely.
it. They don't do it, which is so shocking to me. I mean, it's not shocking, but it's really disappointing.
It's disappointing, it's sad. It makes you lose your confidence in justice. It makes you ask the right questions also about our society. What are we about? Here in Europe, we have been raised not to steal, not to lie, not to this, not to that, not to everything. And then you have on the other side an American president who is a professional liar, a professional cheater, a professional criminal. I mean, yes, of course, he has been trained by Roy Cohn, and he has been applying Roy Cohn's rules for over 50 years, so he got very good at it. But that does not mean that it is the right thing to do. At the contrary, we are still people around the world who have been raised in a normal manner, in a way that they do good and they think good. They don't allow all these red lines to be crossed, because you cross it once and then you cross it always, and the same as being a predator once, always a predator. And that's the ethic and also the moral of everything. You have to be careful, because when you do it once, and then you will always do it, and especially at this scale, this is just not normal,
No.
you know?
So before we move on, can you just provide a little bit of detail into the actual event itself? Like how many people were in that room, would you say, in that area with when Epstein approached you?
You mean the press luncheon? We
Yeah.
were over 60 girls, and there were at least dozens of journalists organizing stuff. I guess altogether we were a good 100 in the ballroom, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people there. So and a
And
lot of
lots of round tables, yeah.
Interesting. Obviously, you've talked about what Trump did to you. We don't have to talk about that. But did you end up reporting that to anybody at the time? If whatever you're comfortable with talking with me about.
Yeah, before going into reporting, I would like to emphasize something that was also part of your question before, is the interaction between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump.
Mm,
That's also something that we maybe should just take for a
sure,
second.
please.
So they were very, very, very close for two reasons. I'm saying that for two reasons. The first is that Donald Trump allowed Jeffrey to come and hunt on his territory, on his playground. And the second point is that Donald Trump paid for the event. They were also complicit. They had eye contact. They were also smiling to each other. So it was like a game. Both of them were playing their role. And I think this makes a difference, also for the people to know, did they know each other? Oh, yes. How deep? Very deep.
And you saw them like continuously
Yeah,
throughout the event,
they were playing with
talking.
us. They were playing with us. It was a game. That was a game, a hunting game.
Yeah, it's shocking to me that people still deny the reality of just that fact.
Yeah, but those who deny, thanks God, there are less and less because now the facts are so clear. The witnesses are clear. The victims have been talking. I think with all these elements that we have now in hand, those who still deny, they must be either stupid or they are in a cult and they are blind. There is no other explanation if they are really, really strongly convinced of this opinion, then it's an affront for their intelligence. Then I really asked myself, how intelligent are they? Because at a certain stage, when you have all the proof on the table, then you, even if you are pro-Trump, you must say, okay, Houston, we have a problem here.
You would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be objective at a certain stage. You have to be objective. I can have a great image of a person, but if this person gives me more and more and each day reasons that it's not what I thought for that many years, at a certain stage, I open my eyes.
You have to.
You
That's,
have to,
I
because
mean,
otherwise you lie to yourself,
yeah, the truth is objective. Reality is objective.
Today, a former Miss Arizona who calls herself a conservative, going public in an interview with KCBS, describing what she says happened backstage with Trump at a Miss USA pageant.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis.
Tasha Dixon detailing her discomfort.
To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him, get his attention.
She described feeling helpless.
Who do you complain to? He owns the pageant. So there's no one to complain to. Everyone there works for him.
Soon. Thursday night. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it? Okay.
When we were in New York City on the media tour, they were doing a book launch at Trump Towers for the Universal Beauty book, and they had a bunch of former Miss USAs and Miss Universes, and we did the red carpet, and that was tons of fun. And then they lined us all up, and Trump went down the line, and he shook your hand and, looked you over, looked you up and down, head to toe, and was just checking everybody out.
A past interview with Howard Stern now making headlines. Trump talking about how he had free reign at his beauty pageants.
I'll go backstage before a show, and everyone's getting dressed and ready, and I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
Later in that same show, Trump is asked if he'd ever had sex with Miss USA or Miss Universe contestant.
Never comment on things like that.
Give us the
first letter of the country you had sex with a man.
How many letters are there?
And another video where Trump is seen interviewing Playboy playmates and basks in the glow of a question from CNN's Jeannie Mose.
Have you ever dated a playmate?
I refuse to answer that question.
On the grounds that it may be true?
It may be true.
I'm telling you, Donald Trump owned the pageant for the reason to utilize his power to get around beautiful women.
When it comes to Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, the media is missing the smoking gun. Now, I've sat on this information for years, and I really didn't want to get into this because this is not in my job description, and it's very dangerous to come out with this publicly. The smoking gun is Miss USA and Miss Teen USA. The pageants, which Donald Trump owned for years. Now, how do I know? Because I was one of the judges in these pageants. I trained dozens and dozens of the winners and the runners-up in public speaking to promote their platform. This is all I'm going to say about this. If you're in the media and you're looking for information, start with Billy Bush. Billy Bush hosted the Miss USA, Miss Teen USA multiple times. Nancy O'Dell is another one. And then go down the rabbit hole from there. There are people that know a lot more than those two, but start there. They're celebrities, and start there, go down the rabbit hole. And I think what you're going to find is going to be very, very upsetting. Don't call me. I'm not going to comment. I'm not going on TV and talking about this. This is very dangerous to sit on. If you decide to pursue this in the media, be very, very careful. These people are dangerous.
And you can't, I mean, just based on your story alone, that should be enough evidence to show somebody that their relationship was much more than brushing elbows at social functions and getting a picture together. But
I guess this is the reason why Lawrence O'Donnell has taken the article of the New York Times and read it really from A to Z during his Last Word MSNBC podcast, because there were so many other also witnesses in this article, you know, who makes it so clear. I mean, there's no doubt left, absolutely no doubt left. And therefore, I think this is the reason why he has taken this article once and forever, and also for the very first time in his entire Last Word experience. And he has taken word by word. And I think this is also when the declic happened in the head of the people, you know, where all of a sudden they realize, oh my God, she's not the only one. There is more and all related, and they all say the same. How come that many people say the same? I don't know them. They don't know me. We couldn't come together and put this story together. And this is what also the European journalists say now, that all the editors say. It is not possible that all these thousands of women say the same without knowing each other. So there must be a truth somewhere. And the truth is with us and not with him.
Mm-hmm. 1,000,000%.
But for that, you need a minimum objectivity, a minimum rationality, and a minimum of intelligence, you know?
And you would imagine if they're actually investigating this, they should bring in some of the victims / survivors to speak to them, to interview them.
I hope it will happen one day. I hope it will happen, and I hope it will happen in front of the Congress, and I hope it will be televised, and I hope really all that, and also that they will be subpoenaed, and they will come, and even if they say the fifth, but at least the people will see how far they go, you know?
Right.
But at least they heard all the victims, because for the moment there are thousands of podcasts, thousands of articles out there, and nobody has time or the interest or the strength to put it together, you know, a timeline, names, connections, and, because the puzzle is huge. But those who are involved, like you, like me, like other victims, they know what they are talking about. And one day, if someone will take the time and put all these puzzles together, then they will all be horrified. And we don't know yet everything, you know. And therefore, the story is never-ending story. It's really a never-ending story. And coming back to your why I didn't report, it's very easy, because he threatened me, and he clearly told me to be quiet, otherwise something would happen to me. And that was in the 93. And then later on, I went on with my life, you know, with busy family and professional life. And you know how it is. And you have no time for anything else than doing that. And then later, I got threats on social media. And when Virginia Giuffre died, then it was very massive. Then I got lots of threats again, a little bit like Maduro in Venezuela, you know. We know where you are and we will get you. Yeah, it was nonstop threats until when I saw him becoming president for the first time. And he was so omnipresent in the media that when I opened this box, I realized I cannot keep it for myself anymore. It's making me sick. It's making me suffer. It's making me everything, you know. So that's when I decided that something has to be done, you know. But still, you know, in the 90s, we women, we had only one alternative, is just to suffer in silence. And this is what new generation do not understand, because when they suffer, they do something straight away, you know. But in the 90s, it was impossible for a woman to say the truth. First of all, because nobody believes you. And second, because the society didn't allow us to talk. It was always our fault. And we were ashamed for what these criminals did to us. It was always the contrary of what should be normal and what is normal today. And thanks God we have come to this 2026 so that we can talk. Because there are many victims who are sick since years and they are in therapy and they have to find solutions so that they don't lose control. They still be operative and live their lives. But it's like an open wound, you know, it never heals and it always comes up. You try to put it down, you try to forget it, you put it in a box, you do everything. But he was so much omnipresent in the media that it's impossible to forget him. It was just impossible.
Yeah.
But the threats are here, it's a serious thing and it's dangerous. I mean, he can do so much, you know, he has the power now.
It really, even just listening to you talk, just got me kind of like emotional. Like,
yeah, I have to be very careful also because otherwise I cannot continue.
No, I know my eyes are a little watery from that, but it just makes me so upset deep down that there are sections of Americans that just not only don't seem to care about if Trump full on someone who's an adult, but also
you know what I say to these people? Wait until it happens to you and then you laugh less. Right. That's the only way to say it. Wait until it happens to you and then you stop writing lol, you know, and emojis. Wait until it happens to you and then we talk again.
But that's so f***ed up to me too, is that there are people out there, I think that's a big part. And also, like, you're talking about like allegations in the 90s, and I've also worked with victims who had allegations in the 70s, like I've a really good friend who I interviewed for another project was by a famous 1976, and no one believed him and people made fun of him constantly. And it's like it's so shocking to me and heartbreaking that America has this, and the world really in so many ways, an empathy problem. Like, for me to empathize with someone who survived sexual violence, it doesn't have to be, oh, what if that was my mom or my sister? It's like, that is just obviously horrific and wrong, but so many people just don't think like that, and it just gets me so angry. But
there are a few good news. The thing is that when I compare my story to the one of the 27 other women, for example, it started in the 80s, 90s, and it went on. They never had that much coverage in the media. They were never listened to. They were treated like liars. And today, all of a sudden, victims are heroes. And therefore, I think we have made a huge step for humanity this time. And also because finally social media is on our side. Before you had a few articles, people read it or not, but it landed somewhere, you know. But now it's online and people can go and search. And those who really want the truth, they know how to read between the lines. And I think also when I compare with 2024 and today, it's a huge step. And also because there are more and more victims. And when you have more and more victims, you have more and more pain. And there are many victims out there who didn't come out yet and who didn't tell their story, but they suffered from inside and they recognize themselves in this crazy society. And that's why we have so many people who are with us today. And even though it sounds a big progress on one hand, it is a huge, I think, a huge step for humanity, because it couldn't happen in the 90s, it couldn't happen in 2000, it couldn't happen in 2010, and even in 2020, the society was not ready. And I think our society is ready today. And that's why I never think about all these people who don't understand or who don't show sympathy for us, because I don't need any empathy from anybody. I just want justice, truth, and saving lives. That's the only thing that I want and for which I fight, and for women's rights. Because when you have, for example, boys, you raise them in a way that they respect women. And the same way, if you have girls, you raise them to be respectful of men. So why isn't that possible on the highest level? Why do they need this crazy kick? Why? Because the problem is not the people down. The problem is the elite. Because they saw it all, they had it all, they paid it all, they everything, And then they want the forbidden piece, the forbidden apple. And that's when they cross the line, and that's where our society must say, it doesn't matter how many millions, billions, or trillions you have, you don't cross the line, because we cannot cross the line either. And this is the only way of law that regulates our countries and that make us live in peace.
Yeah, I mean, if a normal person was accused of even a 1,000th of what Epstein, Trump, all these sorts of people have been accused of doing.
Yeah, because they showed them. They showed on the upper side, and then it went down, and that's what happened. They showed that it's possible, and why not, and who cares? And then they took the right to do it as well. But initially, it was not meant to. It was more in the elitary society, because it was the non plus ultra, to do these games. They were so bored from life that the only toy they found is playing around.
The forbidden fruit is a really great kind of analogy there on, because a lot of people always wonder why, and I have the same question too. I mean, I understand the forbidden fruit thing, but it's also it's so strange when it seems like some of these people get to these upper levels, they always go for young victims. I'm from South Dakota in the States, and there's this really, really famous billionaire philanthropist where I'm from. His name's Denny Sanford, and he took over the hospital system in my entire home state. So every hospital, even the regional clinics, they got rebranded from whatever they were, Sioux Valley to Sanford. So his name is everywhere in South Dakota.
Another one.
Yeah, and this guy was busted about 5 years ago. They intercepted CSAM materials in his email. There were 35 images. I believe it was 30 something in his email, graphic images of children. And It was a news story, and the Attorney General of South Dakota was his lawyer. So he used to be his private lawyer, then he became the Attorney General. And
Incredible.
All of a sudden, it just goes away, and there's nothing more to the story. No one ever was arrested for it. No one went down for it. But this guy is once again a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, and there are
It's a scandal.
statues.
It's a huge scandal.
It is, and there's in my hometown at the Children's Hospital, there are full bronze statues of this guy with kids on his shoulders, hugging children like he's some hero to the kids, but. Yeah, they effectively buried that entire thing as well. So it is a weird. obviously I'll never understand it, but when people get to those levels of power, it just seems tendencies or compulsions like that are almost drawn out of them. It's
Yeah, you said something very interesting now. It's again a millionaire or billionaire, and it's again someone who can afford it. When you think about this story, it's the consumer and the market. When you have a drug portion, it's cost 20 Swiss francs, for example, and if you want a child, it's 20,000. So, of course, human trafficker, they choose children because it makes more money. And that's also something. So who can afford a child for 20,000? You have to be a millionaire, billionaire, or more. So in other words, if that can be stopped, then it would make a change because not everybody can afford 20,000. You have to be in a certain liga to pay 20,000, and especially on a regular basis. And this is also something, there is a lot of money who came from Trump to Epstein. And what was very interesting is that each time he transferred 30 millions, it was before he took the plane to the island. So in other words, Epstein was very intelligent, and he told him, okay, if you don't pay, you don't come. All these things are related, Who can just afford 30 million just like that to take the plane and go and have fun?
Yeah, and
Not many people can.
Why
So
the 30 million?
it's on black and white. Each time he went on the plane, he paid 30 million to Epstein. So Epstein didn't do it for free or for friendship. He did it for the purpose of business, clearly. So if you want to consume, you send me first the transfer. So he was very clever as far as that was concerned. But someone has to stop this trafficking, Someone has to say, no, it's not possible. It's not allowed. It's not ethical. It's not moral. No, just no. You do it among adults, that's something else. But if you have and you have this kind of needs, then go to the doctor first.
So when you finished your time in New York at that time, did you get the impression that you had been brought there specifically with the intent to be propositioned to be potentially brought into trafficking? Or do you think that the pageant was the main reason and then that was kind of like a side play?
The pageant was a pseudo excuse. It was a cover-up. It was an ambush.
And how did that feel for you when you were going back home after this obviously extremely traumatic and confusing experience?
It was a catastrophe. My entire American dream has fallen into parts. My entire New York dream has fallen into parts. My credibility in men, my trust in men, I was down, and down again. I have never been that down in my entire life, and that's the reason why I put everything in the box, because I just couldn't. I was lucky enough that I could go to the bank, back to the bank and work and forget all this shooby-doo, because I was in pain, I was suffering, I knew I couldn't do anything about it. I was trapped. It was a dilemma. It was a huge dilemma for me. That was the worst nightmare in my entire life. And in the 90s, that was something, but then today, with everything we know, also the extent with the connection with New Europe. It was you American, you focus a lot on your country, and we focus a lot on Europe. But now this network, this Jeffrey Epstein network, has taken another dimension. My story is no longer just People magazine's story. It has become political because they have found, it was in December last year, the NZZ, which is Neue Zürcher Zeitung, your pendant of Washington Post. There is a great journalist there who investigated, and he found human trafficking out of Switzerland to Epstein, banking connections, and then, of course, with Italy and Spain and France. And the ramification and the connections within Europe are huge. And also Netherlands, the Princess of Netherlands was also one of the girls. Everything is slow, it has taken 1 year until America waked up. And now Europe is waking up very slowly. It's a slow procedure because all these high-profile people, they have also the media in the hands, or their friends have the media, and they cut many stories. Thanks God, the British are very open and neutral, and they bring the stories out, you know. The connections are huge. They are huge. And even Switzerland, we had human trafficking out of Switzerland to America, to Epstein directly, with modeling, with models and younger girls also. So can you imagine the wake-up call we had here in this country when this came out, this article that I have also online? It's in German, but there are many others who have taken it over and translated it into English. Therefore, this is also a very important point. It's not just Trump, Epstein, America. It's the entire world is in this mess. The entire world. You know, Epstein had real estate in France, in Paris, in south of France, and he was working a lot with model agencies in Paris, and they brought girls from Eastern Europe first to Paris. They got them visas, and with these visas, they sent them then where the clients were. You know, it's easy because when you have these girls and also boys who wanted to be a model at any price, it was not difficult, you know. And then the next door was trafficking, you know. And this is something that many Americans don't know, but it's really, really huge. And it's coming out step by step now. Many people are afraid, and many journalists are afraid to bring it out because there are so high-profile people involved in Europe that you cannot even imagine.
Yeah, you know, obviously when you think of Epstein, that's how my conceptualization of this was a few years ago. He got these victims from kind of Florida area, and it was almost kind of self-contained, and he had a British connection and Prince Andrew and then Trump. But as the years have gone on, it's almost... It really is. It seems like an impossible task to actually piece this entire thing together, or for someone to investigate, because it's so vast. You could investigate in, like, let's just say Switzerland, and find 15 different rabbit holes that each have splinters of their own, that lead to more victims and more perpetrators. It's something. It's daunting. It's really frightening to me when you think about how much we know and how little what we know right now really represents how small of a piece of the entire puzzle.
Yeah, the rabbit holes are extreme. You have pointed out something very important here, because I think there is no person on this planet who can put the puzzle together. Everybody has a part of it, and because it's so complex, nobody will ever make the round. Nobody will finish the puzzle. Nobody. It's impossible. But for those who are in there, you know, I think if a consortium of journalists from around the world will come together in a task force, of course you have to finance that, but an international task force of specialists of criminality and of human trafficking, there are many out there, maybe they listen, they can come together, and these specialists, they can do it. But we have to be realistic. It will always come to an end very quickly, because the people who are involved on the highest level are so powerful that they will stop any investigation. And we have to be really realistic. Even when you see what the DOJ is doing now, all these dirty games, I mean, this is a joke. It's an absolute joke what is going on with this DOJ now. And this is a typical example of what happens, you know, when you start something that big. They just stop it. And they think we are all stupid and we don't remember that the Epstein files are still open, and they didn't send it and they didn't give it to the public. They think we are stupid. But this is the best example of where this case is going to land. And if it's France, if it's Germany, Spain, Italy, Switzerland, it's always going to land on a desk of one of these DOJ people from another country, and they are going to stop it. And this is the sad part of the story, actually, because we witness, we can fight. You, podcaster, you can bring it out. We can all, with the witness and with the victims, come together, put names together, put everything together. Nothing moves. There is no interest up there to move the game on. No interest. At the contrary, they are scared, you know?
Especially with, I mean, when you've got Trump as the president of the United States using the DOJ as a puppet of his that are just subservient goons. You know, he says, don't do this, they don't do it. It's so clear that that's what they're doing. And it's disheartening, definitely.
Yeah, this is the worst part in the story, you know, because even when you have the proof, even when you have the witnesses and the victims, it lands in a corner. Maybe we will need, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years more, like the JFK files. We will not be here anymore at to witness it. Maybe our society is the way it is, and it will never change. They don't want us to change. They don't want us to talk because these people, they want to continue to have fun. That's the point. They want to continue to have fun.
Because Epstein, you know, has taken whatever he's been, whether he's dead or alive. A lot of people think he's alive. You know, that's a whole another rabbit hole. But even if he's not the figurehead of an operation like that anymore, like, the crazy thing is, you know, that someone else has assumed that role and is actively doing this. I mean, there are thousands of Epsteins out there, even though they're operating on smaller levels, lesser levels. But I guess that's my question to you, is like, what would you like to see out of all of this? How do you think that what we do here, and you speaking out and me doing this podcast and, you know, people online, what's the impact that we can have by talking about this stuff?
Well, I think the general conscience has waken up, so which is already a victory for you, for me, for all the other victims. And then, if we can just save one life, I am already happy and relieved. Just one life. I am relieved. And I am sure we made that possible. You and me and all the other podcasters and all the other journalists. We saved a few lives. And saying that, I'm already relieved. And I think I didn't do it for nothing. That's for me already a big win. And if people think, or if I hope, you know, that my legacy will be, you know, to the people, that they remember me as, you know, that Swiss beauty queen that stood up against the American president. In order to save lives. You know, save lives. That would be, I think, for us, victims, you, media, it's already the biggest victory we could have. But of course, it would be better to do more and save more and stop the vicious circle. My goal is to stop the vicious circle, or at least to bring it down. And also for many people, you know, to recognize the signals. You had this question of, were there signs? No, there were no signs for two reasons. We had no internet and we had no social media. But today, the new generation, they have internet and they have social media. And therefore, the signs are easier to recognize. And I think this is the big progress between our generation, I mean my generation, because you are younger, and the new generation. They can use these tools, you know, to save themselves and to detect these signals where you hear something that is not right. You have no obligation, you know, and these this young generation is lucky enough that they are very strong and they're very decisive, they don't say yes to everything as we had to. But I think this is the most important. If they can remember us, all the people who were fighting for this cause, that we wanted to save lives and we managed to do so in a few cases. Of course, we will never be able to save everybody. This is a fact. But if we saved a few lives, I am already happy. Because that was my goal. Bring my story out and make sure it doesn't happen again and again and again. That was my only reason of fighting, and it is still my fight, even if it's going to be my last fight. But if we manage that, so that we can all live in peace, and we can just have a normal life and a nice life and concentrate on what is important, that would help a lot. And as said, if we would have had internet and social media in the 90s, all this would have never ever happened, because they were protected by many people, because nobody talked, nobody wrote about it, and then they stopped it also with the investigations. But today, if anything happens to those who are listening now, be strong, stand up, think about us who made the first step, and come and do the other steps with us, because only together we are strong, and we can help you. We can help you, we can support you, we can do a lot. Think about this first step. That's always the worst and the most difficult, the first step. And we did that step for you, all those who are out there, so that they don't have to live this horror again. And I think this is what we are fighting for, all of us, and especially also those who have children, because as we said at the very beginning, you don't bring children on this planet to destroy them. I think this is a clear message for me. If we managed to save lives, then it was worth fighting, it was worth suffering, it was worth taking on us all the insults we got. It was worth hearing and reading everything that was a real atrocity to hear. And in the same time, there are many people out there who support us. There are many people who are kind. There are many people who send us messages of courage, of love. And all those I would like to thank also, because it takes courage also to write on Instagram or somewhere else these kind of messages, because they know there are many who will come against. And I think we have also lots of normal people around us. Thanks God, They're not just insults and threats. There are also people like us, and many who don't have the courage, but they are with us and they write us. The world is watching. We are with you. We are in Netherlands. We are with you. We are in Greece. We are with you. There are so many of these messages that I get. The world is watching. Be strong. Continue. Don't give up. And this is phenomenal. This is absolutely phenomenal to see and to read that. It gives me the strength to say, I don't see him as a president. I only see him as a man. Because if I would see him as a president, I would never be able to do what I am doing. And these are the moments that are so important, that you're not alone. And I remember this is what I heard the first time when I came out with the article. And I was contacted by the Women Against Trump. And the first thing one of the ladies there told me, you are not alone. And this was for me the biggest strength that she could give me. And that's the reason also I posted also always with the girls together, so that people see it's not about me, it's about all the others too. And when I posted this picture, at that time I was not shadow banned, and it made over 330,000 views, and the comments were positive and everything. So this is also something that many people don't understand. You cannot have the strength each day to hold so much pain on your shoulder. It is not human to hold all this pain. But in the same time, if it serves the others, and if it helps the others, then I do it. And I do it until my last breath. And I don't know why I had to be the one that opens the door. I don't know. I will never know. Nobody will tell me. Nobody will explain me. But I did it. And I will continue as long as I have the strength. But it's very, very complex. It's not as easy as it looks, you know?
No, it's not. You have been such an inspiration to so many people, and I want to highlight your comment. I didn't expect to be crying this much before 11 a.m.
I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry.
No, it's you're such a powerful speaker, Beatrice, and you don't even know how many lives you've saved personally. One story getting hundreds of millions of views. Just for yourself, just think how many young women, young men who may have been in a position of sexual or have been victimized that have just read your story and been inspired to come forward. So I don't think a person like yourself, you've saved one life. I think you've saved hundreds, thousands, an uncountable number of lives. And what you've done is so important and powerful for those people. And I think, I mean, my whole life I haven't been a person that believes in anything really like a God or a universe. I really didn't until I got sober and kind of found not religion, but that there was something that had given me a purpose. Part of that purpose has been exposing these things to my followers. That's why I've kind of dedicated and I've spent tons of money producing these documentaries and driven myself to the point of insanity, working every single day on these stories for the last few years. But when you say, I don't know why I was the one, and this is just my opinion, I feel like that's because you were meant to be that person. Whether it's some sort of higher universe or energy or something, you were meant to bring this to light. And look at what you've done. You've done it all, and it's growing every single day. So I think you can sit at the end of the day and know that what you've done is not only enough, but it's brought us together. Like, here I am in Texas talking to you.
Yes, absolutely. It brought us together. Yeah.
That's really what it is. And I believe that with my heart. I know it's kind of cheesy, but I'm just so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for your words. It's amazing. I really appreciate this human touch that you have. You know, it's getting so lost in this modern times. But it's important, you know, at the end of the day, we are all human, and we are supposed to be different from animals because of that human element that would make us think normally and behave normally. And that's exactly the point that you were making, you know. I don't know why I had to do this. And when I started, when I just told my story, I had no idea that this Pandora box is going to bring all these victims. I didn't know that it is a connection worldwide. I didn't know anything. You would have told me that, Beatrice, just sit down 5 minutes, think about it, because it's going to bring a huge mess, you know. Maybe I would have been scared, and then I wouldn't have done it. And this is also a very important point, being scared. That's why I forbid myself to see him as a president. I only see the man that I met, so that the fear never becomes stronger than my power, because otherwise the fear is always it's going to kill everything, you know. And each time fear comes up, I fight against it, and I say to myself, no, Beatrice, you are not alone. The journalists are here. The podcasters are here. Victims are with you. Everybody's with you. You know, we are groups of women, if it's from Epstein's side or from the Trump side, and we all have families. We all have children. We all fight for the same, you know. And one day, I think the majority of the people are going to wake up, because now we are in a position where he didn't only do bad to women or children, but he is doing bad for America. He has taken America in hostage. You guys, you are bleeding because of him. And I guess this is what it takes, that the real America wakes up. And that America says, oh my God, this is not just about women. It is about our country. It's about us, Americans, because he's hurting you now. And you don't even realize. He has taken you in hostage, and many people don't realize. But I think now with everything that is going on, you are going to wake up, because it's touching everybody. Now it's not just me. It's not just the 28 or the thousands of Epstein. We are talking about you, American. And you are over 300 million. I mean, in this 300 million, there should be some human beings too, no?
You would imagine.
Who understand that we are all fucked. And not only you, American, but also the entire world is fucked. And we are because of one person. How can the entire planet be because of one? Normally it's the opposite. But we have only one to fight. And today it's not me. It's not me anymore. I just opened the door. But today you Americans, you have to ask yourself the right question. Are you going to let yourself killed on the street? Are you going to let yourself starve of hunger? Are you going to let your children die from no health insurance? And the list is huge. While he is putting all this money in his pockets. I mean, after this interview, I think I'm dead. I'm not going to survive. But this is my opinion. You guys, you are now feeling it on your own skin. And if you don't feel it, you are not human. And those who feel it, those should stand up. And I tell you, if I am dead, I have never had the intention of myself, or I'm not. I have never been, so that this is also done and said. It has been written by all the journalists in Italy, in France, in Switzerland, everywhere. I am not. But what I'm saying, I know that is going to hurt, and he will not like it. I know that. But the 300 million Americans that you are, guys, wake up.
That's for me. Like, it seems like Epstein would be the shaking, wake the up. Like, what are we doing to most people? But it's crazy.
Finally, he's the good one. He's a good guy in the story.
Yeah.
Finally, he is taking the good part, absolutely. And this is totally crazy, that we have come so far, that we waked up, This is exactly what I was also thinking last day. I was like talking with friends of mine, and I was like, but finally, this guy, he has brought us where we should have been for a long time.
Unintentionally, too.
Of course, unintentionally, of course. But finally, he brought us there, But you guys, you are in hostage. But he was right. They were besties. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. No,
he was right.
Goes to the beginning of your story. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, it's very complex. All this is so complex, and I wish I had the power to change many things. And I'm just a little fish, in a big ocean. The world has to wake up, because this is a supremacy and a dominance and a system that will only bring us to the end very quickly, and it's not going to help us. This kind of art of the deal, as he calls it, this is no deal. There is no win-win nowhere, only for him. A good deal is when you have a win-win. But he never did a good win-win deal. Never. It was always in his favor, and he continues now on a huge scale. And it's more and more dangerous. I think America and the world has to wake up. It's not normal. It's just not normal, and we cannot allow that to continue.
So I have a ton of people who listen to my show on different platforms, and I always get comments from individuals who were trafficked when they were younger, or they weren't even necessarily trafficked, but they were by a family member, or, you know, just suffered violence at the hands of whoever. So do you have words of encouragement for those people specifically that might be listening to this episode, like what they should do? Because I always encourage them, and I say, you know, I'm just really glad you're here, and I'm so thankful that you're even just present to be able to tell your story. But like, what would the next step be for someone who's listening who has experienced something like that? Because I feel like they're obviously going to be inspired by your story.
I think the main point is you are not alone, and this is something that helps a lot, so that you find a place where you can talk about it with specialists, with groups of chats, with other survivors, with also groups of legal teams. There is a lot that has been put in place now. There is a lot going on because of these new windows, you know, that have been created in a few states. It's the same for Epstein and Trump, or even anonymous people. If you don't want to go under because you suffer and the pain you have to put it out. And this is the only advice that I can give. I have kept it within me for so long that it almost made me go under because of that. But I was lucky that I was very busy, and I had a great life, a great family. And at a certain stage, I said to myself, if I'm not letting this out, it's going to kill me from inside. And don't do the same mistake. Go and get help. Go and speak to other victims. We are many on the social media, and many are helpful, and many will show you the way to go and to do the right thing, and especially to work on yourself, and don't keep it inside, because it's like a time bomb. It can and will explode one day. It's just a question of time, and there will be a moment that it brings it out, and don't bring it so far. If you suffered, go and get help. And please contact all those who you think could help you from the side of the survivors or legal teams, because now it is the time, you know. It has never been that better time than now. And I think all those who suffered, they need also support of specialists. Go and get the help you need. There is help out there. There is a lot of help. But you have just to go and find it out what is the best for you, you know. And most of all, don't fear. You are not the problem, and you are not guilty. And this is something that has to change in the head of all victims. We are not guilty. The guilt is on the other side. And the day you change the part of the guilt, it's the day you become strong, and it's the day you can start to fight. And most of all, you become another person, or you find your real self again. And this is a very surprising journey, I must say. I am myself discovering lots of parts of myself that I had to keep quiet for so many years, because of the interests of parents, of the interests of family, of the interests of the job, of the interests of everybody except my interest. Nobody ever asked me for my interest, or if I am in pain, or if I am suffering. Nobody, you know. But you have the right to give you the importance you deserve. And that day you will become someone new. You will become finally free, you know. And this is also a procedure. It can take a long time. And first you go very much down. And then one day you start to climb and to come up, you know. It's a long procedure. But I tell you, all those who are victims out there today, they have so many possibilities. So many that we never had. Never. We didn't have anything, you know. We had nothing. We didn't even have the family to talk about. But you are now in an era where you can talk, you can find solution, you can find help. And don't wait until it destroys you from inside. That's my message for them, because in my experience, I should have come before. But today, finally, I say to myself, when I see this evolution from 1 year, from the first article in the Daily Mail, and today, finally, it was the right timing. It was not too early. It was not too late. It was just in time. And I am glad that it happened exactly how it happened, even though I suffered like a dog for years. But now I have the impression it is the right moment. It would have been 2 years before, 3 years before, it wouldn't have come out the way it came out. You know, it's like when the stars are all aligned. Now they are aligned. And now we can move things which were impossible in the past. It was just impossible. No way we could make it. 10 years ago, impossible. 20 years ago, impossible. 30 years, even more impossible. And this is the good news for all those who suffer outside, is that you have this chance and you have these stars aligned. And it's now. The time is now for you. And don't be scared. Even there are days that are very bad. There are days that are difficult. There are days you don't want to get up. But the next day, the sun is shining. And all of a sudden, you get good news. And all of a sudden, it works. And all of a sudden, everything you have been fighting for takes a form. But there are some days, it's not easy. And especially at the beginning, it was very bad. Because at the beginning, we had the impression that he's winning. And now, finally, everybody sees that he's losing. It's just a question of time. Because there is a law of truth. And the law of truth is always stronger than the bad. And sometimes you don't have to do anything. It happens. Karma comes. You cannot force karma. Karma is coming alone. And especially the past, you know, when you do things in the past that are bad, one day it comes and it gets you. We survivors, we know that. There are people who are paying the price. Not everybody talks about it, but there are many people who are paying the price. And they think they are still strong because there is a group of evil people who are together and who are still working against us.
Karma's
But the
real.
light is, and the light is stronger. It has always been stronger. Always. It's just a question of time. And also when you think all these women in the government who work against the Epstein files, they are mothers, they are women, and still they go against the other women. It's not normal. It's not normal. And all those, they will one day, they will pay the price. We are supposed to be, to have a certain solidarity among women, you know. But no, they come against us, you know. I mean, a Pam Bondi, for example, she could have brought the files 100 times on the table. But no, she's still not doing it.
And she said she had the list.
She said from the very beginning. She said from the very beginning she has everything. And still the survivors have to fight, to write letters, to push. But you know, in this kind of situation, you should never underestimate the people who suffered. Because people who suffered, they try to find solution themselves and find evidence by themselves. And it will come the other way around, I guess, if the normal way doesn't work. And also journalists say the same. They take us for stupid. Okay, so we do the research, we do the investigation, we do everything. And there are journalists who are still working on it and who worked for a long time also to bring out what is out there. But it's only a fraction of what they still have in their offices and where they are investigating. And there is so much more. And that's the reason why they don't want us to know the more. They don't want us because, normally in Switzerland, when you have only 0.001% of what he did, you are in jail for 400 years. And he's still president. So something is wrong. Something is really wrong.
Yeah.
With 0.001%, you are already in jail. You are in jail. You don't play the president anymore,
When I was 18, I got arrested for having half a gram of marijuana on me.
Voila. For
they were
nothing.
threatening me with a whole charge. It ended up getting dropped, but I got arrested for something like that. And someone can be credibly accused by dozens of people of sexual assault and not even be brought in for questioning is absurd.
They all play the same game. It's like they learned it by heart, do everything so that these people don't get too close to us. And we keep the distance. We create an image that is not real. We create everything. We delete everything that is not good. And one day, everything comes back.
It always, the darkness, always whatever's done in the dark gets brought into the light.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I'm just waiting
and
on
in
that
this
day.
case, yeah, and I am confident that at least a part will come. In French, we say time will tell, and this is really a game on the time, Sometimes time is running out, but in this case, time will tell, and we are getting closer and closer. I mean, when I think about a year ago and today, we know much more. We saw much more. Many things happened already. Many things moved. Of course, not in a high speed level, but it moved. It's like a little bit a revolution in the palace, And for revolution times, it always takes a little bit longer. It never. There is no revolution that happened within a half an hour.
Half an hour, it's true. That would be a very, very fast revolution, let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Speedy Gonzales revolution.
It's been just incredible listening to you, Beatrice. I want to get to those last few because you're writing a book as well. Do you want to talk about that?
It's written already. Yeah, it's written already, and it's coming out this year. I can only say one thing. Get ready for it.
Oh, I'll be ready. I'm ready right now.
Get ready, because what I saw, what I witnessed, what I experienced in this 90s era of predators and jungle, it's just get ready. That's all I can say.
I'm excited to read everything, and I'm sure that we'll end up talking again once.
Yeah, that would be
that
great.
comes out.
Absolutely, that would be great. Yeah.
And I do want you to think of me less like someone who just wants to interview you, but also just as a friend. If you have anything you want me to
thank you
talk
so
about,
much.
reach out. Like, I'm not just here for the show. So if I'm ever in Switzerland, I know Courtney and I would love to meet up with you and maybe get dinner or something
You come
like
anytime. I will show you around. If it's summer, winter, whatever, there is so much to do. I would love to meet your wife as well. Oh, yes, absolutely. That would be great. This is exactly the point, At the end of the day, we are human beings, And this tragedy has brought us together. You have experienced even worse with all the interviews you did, with all the witnesses. I mean, you are a strong person. I don't know how you do it. It's amazing what you are doing also on your side. I very much appreciate, and I read it and I follow it. And I must say, I am always shocked. And I sometimes suffer also. And it's the worst when you see that much pain. But you do an amazing job, an amazing job, and it's not easy for you either, I guess. These are not normal times, really not.
No.
And I think you are very strong to do what you are doing, and the stories you are covering. You are amazingly strong. I tell you, you are strong.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just working on these 2 documentary series that I've been producing. It's like I spend almost every minute of my workday every day going through these allegations of not only with the rings that we're covering are like Epstein, but just disconnected. But they still went up to the White House in the 80s and the 70s, and these involve like kids that were, according to witnesses, murdered, and it's really horrific.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Disturbing stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to be able to use my platform, which I built on a completely different topic, which is obviously the paranormal. But I've just really enjoyed having this reach and being able to amplify voices and stories and truth to people, where I feel like instead of, I've impacted a lot of people with the paranormal and kind of how people view life and death and all of that, but it's a totally different, more fulfilling work for me to actually be able to interact with real people and do like these stories that no one will talk about. Like, I see these people with huge platforms and they're just silent on these issues, which I get it. It's really dark and kind of a heavy topic, but still, if every huge influencer started talking about this stuff, there would be a lot more outrage, I would imagine, than what we have now. Because people are mad, but it's like, why aren't we having Epstein protests? Why aren't we getting out in the streets and doing these, like with, I don't know if you're really familiar with the Mark Dutroux ring. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the white marches and all of that. Like, why
Yeah.
aren't we doing something like that for Epstein? It blows my mind.
I tell you, you have gone from paranormal to crazy normal.
Crazy normal. Yeah.
And there was a podcaster today that I was listening to. He said, if there is one person talking about it, he's going to be killed. If there are 5, they are going to be killed. But if we are many, they cannot kill us all. And this
Right.
is exactly what we are talking about. If everybody talks about it, if everybody writes about it, then we are getting closer and closer. Because for me, these kind of positions, when you look up at people, they have to be clean. They have to be respectful. They have to be, you have to be able to respect them. But within these conditions now, you cannot respect any of them up there. And that's the point, you either have at the top people, you can say, okay, he's great, he's doing this for the country and he saved this and, but when you are only on the destruction and destroy from morning till evening, then you have to ask yourself the right questions, because the way he came in, he can also go out. It's just a question of doing it, But maybe at the very end, if you allow me, I would just add the 4 or 5 points that I wanted to add, if you agree.
Please.
So the first one is Elon Musk. Elon Musk, if you are listening, and if you are a man, I repeat, Elon Musk, if you are a man, press the reset button of my X account. Number 2, Mark Zuckerberg. Yes, Mark Zuckerberg, if you are listening, stop shadow banning my Insta account. I repeat, Mark Zuckerberg, stop shadow banning my Insta account. to both of them, Elon and Mark, I did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing except of telling my story, which is a true story. And then there are 3 points that I would like to say merci beaucoup. First, to all the people around the world, and for their kindness, and also for the fact that they support us survivors. They understand us. It is amazing to have your comments. It is amazing to know that you are there with us. And then also another merci beaucoup to you podcasts, to journalists around the world. Please continue to stand with us, victims and survivors. They made the difference in these difficult times, I must say. Without them, we would not be at this table. And then, of course, a big merci beaucoup to you and to your wife for everything you do for the humanity, because this is really now a human issue. This is now a question of surviving in our society, and you play a role, Colin. You play a huge role, and your wife too, and this is not nothing that you are doing. And a big merci beaucoup to you and to your time and your kindness and your support, and I really appreciate. And of course, if you come to Switzerland, I would love to show you around and our mountains and our lakes and everything we have.
Well, also how are you saying that? Merci beaucoup?
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup to you as well, Beatrice. Thank you, not only just for doing this interview with me, but for everything that you've done. And I know I speak for everybody that has followed this Epstein saga for so long. Everyone is incredibly grateful that you've done what you've done, and that you've given people an example, and you've provided that example, and given, whether they're young girls, young boys, people that are trapped in those systems now, you've given those people a beacon of hope, and you've given strength to so many thousands, millions of people have read the stories. So you really don't know how many lives you've touched, but it's truly an uncountable number. And yeah, I mean, I genuinely, with my whole heart, believe that you've helped save lives. And as you continue to talk and just do exactly what you're doing, hopefully the world is going to start catching up to where we're at. And I just can't thank you enough, because without, for example, just yourself, we wouldn't be where we are today. And you're setting such a good example for all people, not just young women, but young men too, who may have been, that you can get out of something like that. You can get through an experience like that and become an extremely powerful person and voice and presence. So also, I've never been to Switzerland, and I know Courtney would love to come, because the other day when I mentioned
Thank you so much.
she was like, yeah, we got to go to Switzerland. She said immediately, she's
yeah,
we should go next month. But I had to remind her that we already have this whole thing planned next month, where we're not going to Switzerland, we're going to Canada. So it's kind of
I can tell you one thing: for you to come to Switzerland it's easier than for me to go to America. So it's easy to decide, huh?
Don't come to America right now. I think you're good over there.
Oh my God, that's the biggest nightmare. Even though I loved America, I loved to travel in America. I was on both coasts, and also oh my God, I loved it, and I miss it like crazy. You know, you guys, you do things so much better than we. You know, we are a little village compared to you, and you do so many things in an amazing way. I learned so much when I was also working with Americans, and you guys, you make us grow. You know, everything comes from America, as it always been, and I remember even my grandfather, he always said, the Americans will come and they will save us. And America is such a big word. It's such a big word, you know. And for us European, you have represented for my entire life so much. And knowing that we are not able to come over, This is so crazy. And I just hope he's not going to install martial law and he's not going to close the country because I think this is the next step that he is planning, and also with ICE, so that you have civil war, and then he can say, okay, such a mess, I'm going to send you the soldier and the military, and then in an extreme lock the country and no more election, and he's there until I don't know when. And I think this is what he's planning, and I am scared for you. I have always loved America and Americans, and that will never change in my heart. It will never ever change. I had a great connection with your country and your people, and today you are again the proof that it's amazing. You are amazing. You are Americans, and especially you, Colin, on the human side. It's exceptional. You represent what America was, and I hope maybe you will find a way, you Americans, to save your country and save us all in the same time.
Yeah, hopefully we can just get to the midterms so that some of these people can get voted out and then something can happen. But I mean, that's
I'm not sure.
It's 11 months away regardless. So
I'm not sure
Jesus
anymore.
Christ.
Yeah, really. Help us. Jesus Christ, help us, please. Yeah.
All right. So we've seen Beatrice. We've heard from Beatrice. And it's incredibly shocking stuff. I'm a very political person, but an issue like Epstein should be non-political. If someone is credibly accused of victimizing, I don't want to get banned or whatever, young ones will say, they should be investigated and arrested and prosecuted. At least that's what I think. And if I don't know how you could possibly be against that. And that's the reason why I've been so loud about these things for the past few years. It's because these people who actually control our society, the wealthy oil barons and the guys who own the power plants and the movers and shakers behind the scenes who are controlling how you and I live, they are victimizing every single week, month, whatever. It's an unfathomable amount of hardcore that is occurring in our world that is being perpetrated by these people who believe that they're truly untouchable. And the only way that we're going to change this is if we get people angry and we stir them up and we get them on the streets protesting, or I don't know, something has to happen here, because it's not good enough for me to just make videos online or for me to make TikToks. Because yeah, I mean, this has happened, and I am good friends with people now who were victimized in this exact same way in the 1970s. I'm good friends with people who were victimized in the exact same way in the 1980s and 1990s. For the last 2 years, I've spent weeks, literally months of my time traveling and meeting with survivors and interviewing them and documenting their stories and working with them to try and expose this stuff in 2 different upcoming documentary series that I've been working on. It's not a new thing. This isn't something that just happened, that spawned out of nowhere. There's a historical precedent to these rings and to why these rings operate. And, you know, people are really just seeing the inner workings of them for the first time because of the Epstein thing and the fact that there are people they know implicated. But at the end of the day, we've seen the inner workings of these things for years. We know how these things work. I mean, I referenced this in 2024. There's that document that Gerald Richards with North Fox Island and Frank Sheldon that he drew out that shows the inner workings of a CSAM production ring and trafficking enterprise. In our documentary series, we've been following Sheldon. We followed him overseas. We've actually, I think, cracked the code and solved some of the circles that are on that document that have never been solved before. We are going to be offering our interpretations as to what these circles may mean, or these organizations were. But yeah, we're still such a long way from true justice when it comes to Epstein. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's been too long. We've been ignoring survivors for decades. There are people online to this day who watch my videos and say that I'm lying and that none of this is real and that I must have just been making this up, which is really ironic to me considering the Epstein thing. I'd like to see what all those people have to say now when they're seeing the inner workings of an organization exactly like I've been describing being exposed. And it's not just me this time talking about it, it's the entire planet. But the second person who I interviewed for this video, she's absolutely incredible. Her name is Juliette. And once again, I don't want to cloud your perceptions of her, and I don't want to tell her story for you, but it should be noted, Juliette is in the files many times at this point. There are emails between her and Epstein that have been exposed in the files. She actually has shown on her social media that there were emails that she sent to Epstein that weren't included in the files, which she says is obviously highly suspicious, because why would they include some of her emails but not all of them? It just shows that they're not being fully transparent and releasing everything unedited for people to look at. And yeah, there's some photographic evidence and proof of Juliette's story that's really horrific in this section, but I'll come back to you all at the end.
I love Africa. You know, my mum was even born in Zimbabwe. You know, so I'm a true African, really. I mean, I might have white skin color, but I'm a real African. I'm a white Rasta. But my mum was born in Zimbabwe, and my father was born in England, and you know, even my grandmother was born in Cape Town. You know, our family actually came out in 1890. They fled Ireland. It's quite interesting looking into family history, and you know, I've been trying to work out more about that. But growing up in Africa, I love Africa. Obviously, you know, when I was younger, there was apartheid, and I hate racial injustice. You know, luckily, I didn't see a lot of that because I don't come from a family like that. And, you know, like my second mum was African lady, was Zulu. I was basically raised by Zulu. She's no longer with us, but she was amazing. Sorry, I don't want to start crying. But yeah, growing up in Africa, I mean, it's hard in Africa, but it's the most beautiful place, and we have the most amazing people here. Obviously, there's been a lot of injustice, you know, with also in Africa, they steal a lot from people, you know, it's a very rich continent as far as like minerals and, you know, they like gold and all this stuff. And a lot of people come, you know, foreign countries come in here, like the United Nations and stuff, to basically rape Africa. And I just think it's bullshit that a lot of the Africans are suffering and not given proper support, especially when people like the Queen of England's walking around with a crown on her head, a crown that could probably feed the whole of Africa for, you know, a week or whatever, you know, all these jewels they have, and it doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm very grateful that I was born in Africa because I love Africa. But Africa, we've been through hard times. You know, I was even thinking recently, it's like African people are like adults and Americans are almost like children in that way, because we've learnt to not trust our government a long time ago. You know, we've had things going on where the government's stolen all the money, and we were having load shedding. That's actually when I became a lot more spiritual again, because with the lights being out, I lit candles. And then, you know, my mum always used to light candles when I was a child, and I was always very spiritual as a child. You know, I'm grateful to be in a place like Africa where people are, you know, quite aware to things and everything, even though it's obviously like any other country. It's different. It's a different sort of situation, but we just have amazing people here, and I'm very proud to be an African. Well, you know, I was studying psychology and philosophy at the University of Cape Town. I started doing modeling on the side, you know, to get to university. I'd actually been scouted already when I was 14 years old by Elite Model Management. But my mother wouldn't let me travel or work. She said I was too young, which is, you know, quite right, because young people of that age shouldn't be taken overseas. You know, it's very dangerous when young people are taken away from modeling. So, yeah, when I was studying Bestie, I went to, there was like a restaurant bar where they had free drinks for models. So as young girls, we obviously went along. And a girl approached me. Her name was Naja Hill, and she said that, you know, she was here from America, and her friend Jeffrey Epstein was here. She said he owned his own island in the Caribbean, and he was like the king of America. She said he was here with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker, and it would be a great opportunity for me to meet them for my modeling. So then we went across to the restaurant where they were. It was like a 5-10 minute drive. It was very nearby. And sure enough, they were all there. You know, I was only 20 years old. I just turned 20, actually. And for a young girl from Africa, it was like a shock to meet all these people. I was like, oh my God, because I'd never met anyone famous. I was completely starstruck. You know, and one weird thing is when I met Clinton, because they were all eating dinner and they all stood up to like shake my hand during dinner. And Clinton like held onto my hand and he went like this, and he started talking to someone else for like 2 minutes. And he just held onto my hand the whole time. And then eventually he looked back at me and he said, nice to meet you. And like, I've never had anyone do anything like that. It was very weird, like for someone to hold onto my hand for so long. And I felt like, I was like nervous. I was like, you know, it was just like, yeah, weird. And then obviously they staged the modeling casting. Bill Clinton walked through while they were doing the casting. They also took me to a speech they were doing in Africa for a lower income university. Kevin Spacey sat in front of me with a handheld device and filmed all the students in the hall like this. Because I was sitting right behind him. So I was like wondering, why is this man filming everyone? You know, I assumed it was maybe because they were doing a speech on AIDS. I thought he was sort of gathering, you know, videos of it. But all these years later, it's quite clear, you know, that there was something far more sinister going on. So after that, we went back to the hotel and I showed them my modeling portfolio. Bill Clinton walked through while they were doing the casting. Then I was sent through to see Epstein. He looked at my book and he said, right, he thinks I'd be perfect for Victoria's Secret. And then within 3 weeks, they had me there. They arranged me a visa. They paid for my flights. I said to them, I don't have a lot of money. Like, you know, I can't afford to really come. And they said, no, don't worry. All your expenses will be deducted from your income. So it sounded like a completely legitimate experience. My mum also spoke to him before I was taken there. He also said to my mum that he perhaps wanted to help pay for me to study because, you know, my mum was very interested in my education. So, you know, it just seemed like a very legitimate opportunity considering the people he was here with, you know. And then I was flown there and I went to, you know, I was taken to the modeling apartment in New York, carpeted me up at the airport. Then the phone rang and they said it was Sarah Kellen, you know, one of the girls who posed as a modeling agent. And they said, you know, pack a small bag, we're going to the Caribbean. So I assumed it was for a modeling shoot. I didn't have any money with me. You know, it was very frightening. And then as soon as the airplane took off from Teterboro Airport, I was driven to the airport there and Epstein started touching me forcibly between my legs and the other girls were laughing. And I got a terrible shock and I thought, oh my God, these people are going to try to kill me. You know, I suddenly realized, oh my God, my family might never see me again. And in a way, they didn't see me as I had been. You know, it changed me. Like, it wasn't me, like, it totally changed me, all of this. It freaked me out. And, you know, then we landed on the island and I was being called to his room and, yeah. And then on the first day, it was just me. But then the next day, another girl was brought in. And then as time went on, more and more girls just kept coming and going. So it was just, it was very, very frightening for a young person to be stuck in a situation like that. Even at my age now, I'm 43. If I was taken somewhere with people like that, I would be petrified even at my age now.
So the trafficking process has begun and you're traveling with Epstein and Ghislaine and visiting these different properties. This is kind of like a two-pronged question. I would say first, how did that feel for you? And if it's too much to ever talk about anything, like, please let me know.
Yeah, you know, it was really frightening. You know, like I said before, it really changed me being there. And also, like I've said before, you know, one of the times when he took me to the bedroom in the Caribbean, I saw him literally shapeshift into like the devil. You know, his head went big and there were these big black eyes and there were ridges on his head and horns. He looked like a sort of reptilian, alien, devil creature. And like with a mouth and a long tongue. And I got so freaked out because I saw that happen and then I like looked away and then I looked back and it was him again. And I didn't see him transforming like the Incredible Hulk. What happened is I looked away and then I looked at him and then it wasn't him anymore. It was something else there. And then I looked like in shock. I didn't say anything, of course. And then I looked away and then looked back and it was him again. But I saw it clear as day, you know, talking about like, you know, paranormal things that have happened because there's a lot of weird stuff that happened there. And, you know, the media don't want things like that coming out. But I very much saw him turn into something. And I swear on my life, you know, if that's what happened. I've never seen anyone else turn into anything. Also, we weren't allowed like alcohol or they didn't have alcohol or drugs or anything there. So some people say, oh, was I on drugs? Maybe they drugged me. I don't know. But, you know, over the years after that, you know, I experimented with drugs. I obviously don't do drugs, apart from smoking a bit of weed. But I've never seen anyone turn into anything when I've, you know, no matter how drunk I've been or how much weed I smoked or, you know, I never saw anyone turn into something. So, and also another interesting fact is that apparently the island is in the Bermuda Triangle or very nearby. Apparently it's in the Bermuda Triangle. So it could almost be like a portal where like weird things like that happen. Because I've met a lot of people over my life and I've never seen anyone turn into anything like that. And the thing is, I almost like blanked it out because at the time it was like such a frightening thing to happen and I didn't tell anyone. It was just like something really weird, you know. Also, like it was, you know, 23 years ago. The world was very different back then. So I just sort of, I told my mum about it one time, but I didn't tell her about the sexual abuse and everything. I told my mum that I'd sort of seen Epstein turn into something like this, but I didn't tell her in the context of how it happened but it's something that very much happened. Like I said, I'd like to be lie detected about it because it was there. It was obvious. So he used to take me into the bedroom like 3 times a day. But as a lot of people know, his penis was very small. Like it was very, so it wasn't like he was like trying to force orgasms off girls, and he was trying to have sex, but it was like, anyway, I don't want to really go into all that. But so the bedroom was always ice cold and very dark. Where he took me, it was freezing in there. And it was also like a side room. I realized I never even saw many of his bedrooms in any of the properties. He didn't take me into the main bedrooms. I was taken into like side rooms. And then he had the blankets up to here, and it was like around when he was orgasming or something that this happened. Because he also, like, when he orgasmed, he used to make like a weird, like, crying scream. Like it was a weird, it was just very weird. And then, so I couldn't see his whole body when it happened. I only saw him from here because he had blankets there. But it was during that sort of time when he orgasmed and when I was in this room with him alone where I saw this thing happen. And I wish I could explain it more. I wish I'd had evidence. But I mean, how is one supposed to get evidence of such a thing? I don't even know if a camera would be able to pick it up. But it very much happened. And, and other weird stuff happened also. Like I've said, in New Mexico, I saw a UFO in the sky on the same day when I met Michael Bay, the movie producer there. Epstein was making us all watch the movie The Rock. Michael Bay denies being there, but he was there. And also he made the movie about cloning the island in 2005, and I met him there in 2004. And all these years later, I've realized that there was very likely something going on underground there. There's a lot more going on, and they've been trying to cover it up, as we all know. And thank goodness, these files have been coming out, and there's more truth coming to light. It's horrible because it frightens a lot of people. I mean, the media aren't even putting it out there yet because I don't think they don't know how to do it, because it's going to literally break people's brains. People who are very religious or very it's a very, very difficult thing for people to comprehend. And but I saw very weird things there. I also woke up in a laboratory in New Mexico. With like 6 people in hazmat suits around me, and a female doctor came near my head. Like I was basically like paralyzed and strapped to a table, and my eyes opened and I was freaked out. And then the female doctor came near me and she said, "Don't worry, everything's okay." And then suddenly I was out again. Also before I was sent home from there, Epstein gave me a pelvic exam, almost like a doctor would. So, eventually I started to realize I think these bastards were taking our eggs. And then with more and more research, you realize there are movies like Westworld, series like Westworld. Apparently the ranch used to be called Westworld. It's just quite clear that there's been a huge cover up here. And I mean, also even before Epstein was arrested, he ordered like gallons of sulfuric acid to the property. He also ordered, tons of cement. He ordered carpet shredders, tile extractors. I mean, it's quite clear they were trying to hide something. And also with that island, you've got to realize that there was obviously something underneath, because the accommodation on top was way too basic for a billionaire. It was just very basic. And if they say that people like Oprah and all these people were staying there, I don't know where they were staying. Like even when I met Michael Bay and I met the scientists, I'd meet them once and I wouldn't see them again. So it's not like they were hanging around. It's like they went somewhere, and I think they were underground. So, sorry if I veered off there. I just wanted to explain, more of the weird things that have happened. And I also had horrible nightmares after that, where like demons were trying to attack me. I had this horrible nightmare where like Jesus came towards me, and then his eyes went red, and then he had like all these like red things coming out of his head like snakes, and then he jumped on me and tried to like me. I had some serious, when I got back from there, I had serious panic attacks. I was hospitalized at least 10 times with severe panic attacks. They couldn't find anything wrong with me, but sorry, my dogs are playing. Sorry. But yeah, sorry. It was just very frightening, the whole situation. And as we all know, there's obviously a big cover up here.
To go into that is so wild. I've had experiences with sleep paralysis and astral projecting and all sorts of paranormal, metaphysical dream like whatevers, and there's always a meaning to it. And you actually, Jesus in your dream tried to assault you?
But
I've
it wasn't
never
him.
heard of something
It
like
was
that.
like someone pretending to be him, and then their eyes went blood red, and some tentacles grew from their head. Yeah, I've never even spoken about that on any interviews or anything. It was just a very like frightening thing, and it was horrific. And it wasn't Jesus. It was someone posing as Jesus. Some demon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess what we've got to realize is that demons are real, right? A lot of people are frightened by it, but we know, if people want to believe in God, then they can also believe that there's Lucifer. When people are praying to him, I worry that people are actually praying to Lucifer, because I don't believe that God is a male, and I don't believe, I believe that God is above having a sex or a name. I've had many arguments with people who are very religious about this. We came to the agreement where they said, okay, I must pray to my God and we'll pray to theirs. But the thing is, I believe in God and goddesses. I believe in, good energies. I believe in Saint Michael, because of the things that happened to me with Epstein when I was there. He had a horrible psychological hold over me, and I was petrified of him. And, but when he died, it started to detangle, and I was given settlement money, which I'm so grateful for. And I saw therapists, and then I decided I was going to write everything down and try to find out what happened for myself, just to explain it to myself. But the thing is, the further I dug, the deeper and darker it got, and I just realized I had to start sharing more information. I also obviously wanted to speak out for victims, both alive and dead. Those who are too traumatized to speak, those who can no longer speak. Because when I realized the depths of their evil, But this is my diary from 2002, okay? Because I'm also an artist. So what I did is I painted my diary, and then I stuck the butterfly on. There's also one on the back. So when all the Epstein stuff was coming out, and I had to send my diary to New York, the lawyers analyzed it and everything. And they said, oh my gosh, did you put this blue butterfly on the front? Because they were a bit shocked. Because then they said to me that Virginia Gifford used it as her logo on Twitter. Also in Virginia Gifford's book recently, she was an amazing woman. But what a brave woman. And, she had a tattoo on her back of a blue butterfly. And then another victim, Sarah Ransom, has a blue butterfly tattooed on her wrist. Maria Farmers painted the blue butterfly. So, I started trying to figure out what this symbol meant, I don't know exactly what it means, but I do think I've also got a painting that I did before he took me there, also with the blue butterfly in it and a serpent.
Well, what's really insane to me that you say that is that when I got sober, and I've told this story 1,000 times now on my different platforms, the very first thing when I went to rehab, and I was extremely, I would say, atheist when I went into rehab, and I just didn't believe in really any sort of God or energy, and I did this exercise, and they tell you to write what you see in this journal after this hour or so of breath work, and I saw a blue butterfly go across my vision. And so the first thing I wrote in my book was, God is a butterfly. And my very last day of rehab, when I was leaving, and it still gives me chills every time. I was walking to leave, and I was the only one out there, and a giant butterfly came and landed on my shirt right here, and I just looked at it, and it was like it knew me, and then it flew away. And so that's why I actually got this tattoo on my wrist.
God, that's not a butterfly.
Yeah. So it's crazy. And my wife got a matching tattoo with me of a butterfly. It's like, so butterflies are really meaningful
incredible.
to me.
And thank you for being brave, and because you're going to help many people, speaking about rehab, and your wife must be an incredible woman, standing by you and helping, and you're lucky. And and well done, because I know you're going to help many, many people, because, a lot of people go through a lot of pain, especially also the O-negative type are more likely to drink and smoke and, get caught on drugs. Well, because the world's so painful as it is, and people who are highly sensitive, they feel it hard, and also with this thing of getting sort of like a demon attack, and, it's hard to explain it, but, I've had many nightmares. I don't have as many anymore because I've got all my animals, my cats and dogs, but, I just think you're incredibly brave for, fighting and speaking out for people. And
so to go back to your story, to focus on kind of just your story for a little bit now, what was your time on the island like? Like I've listened to a bunch of your interviews, and I'm familiar, but just for people online, I gotta ask the
No,
dumb
no, for
questions.
sure. Just to get everyone up to date. Well, when we were there, we just like kept on call basically. Like we'd all sit together for lunch and dinner and breakfast. But then I didn't really see Epstein a lot of the other time. I'd just be called to his room, when he wanted me there. Again, there were no parties, no alcohol. Like if I wanted to have a cigarette, I had to go smoke far away, and I had to make sure I didn't smell like cigarettes when I was around them. He actually had someone following me, only allowing me 3 cigarettes a day, and trying to get me to do gym training and watching what I was eating. Everyone was being monitored, and it was just like a very, very frightening, weird place to be. And we're obviously all still searching for answers on what they were really doing. But as people are starting to realize, it looks like there's something underground there, and these people were into, genetic experiments, also potentially, selling children, harvesting of adrenochrome, because if you look into it, it's a lot darker than, what we realize. And also, I was completely trapped. There was no way of getting away. I realized I had to do whatever they wanted to protect my life. And another thing is that they didn't even put my name on that first flight log. So if I'd gone missing, my family would have thought I went missing in New York. And that brings into question every flight log, because that was from Teterboro to the Caribbean. That's like it was a private plane, but surely they should be monitoring who's getting on the plane. And also, like you're saying, with these islands, they could bring people off from another Caribbean island by boat, and no one would ever know that they were there. So yeah, it's horrific what these people are capable of, and I just hope that they all rot in hell.
My focus and what I kind of really wanted to talk to you about is Zorro Ranch, because I made videos about this like a long time ago, and I said, I think that there's got to be bodies there, and I mean, they never searched the ranch. It's so insane to me. And now you've got all this talk in the media about Zorro, and yet it feels like we still know very little about it in the public. Like there's no floor plans, no blueprints, but obviously you've had some absolutely horrific experiences there. What was it like the first time that you were taken out there? Because it's kind of like an island of its own, on how I understand it, isolated in the middle of the desert.
You're totally right. It was frightening. Zorro Ranch was a very, very frightening place. It actually creeped me out a lot recently because, usually with Epstein, we would never stay anywhere more than 3 to 5 days. They took me to all the properties, to Palm Beach, the island, New York, New Mexico, and Paris. So usually we were never anywhere for more than like 3 or 5 days. And also we wouldn't be given notice before we'd go. They had and apparently they also had a hatch in their plane where they could drop things out. Apparently Bill Clinton used to run the cocaine from Arkansas. So, where these politicians will be in a lot of stuff, human trafficking, drugs, and it's easy for them to move things around. Like even if you think about Escobar, how was he getting away with it? It's quite clear he was working with the government, right? I mean, it seems like it. But anyway, going back to Zorro Ranch, it was just a very, very frightening place. And, like I was saying earlier, usually we were only anywhere for like 3 to 5 days. I was at Zorro Ranch for nearly 2 weeks. I can't even remember the room I was staying in. And that really creeps me out because I remember being in my cot as a baby. I've got a very, very good memory. So there are times from there where it's sort of like, I remember him doing the pelvic exam. I remember seeing the UFO. But there's a lot of that time, I don't remember sitting and eating with them there like we did on the island. And it actually really freaks me out, to be honest, because I like to remember things very clearly. And there's obviously some weird stuff that went on when I was there, which I can't even explain myself, unfortunately.
The moment you arrive there, what happens? Can you remember that sequence of events? Did you fly into the airport and then drive there? Or
No.
how did you get there?
I remember they flew me from South Africa to New Mexico. Okay, it was in 2004.
Really? Directly?
Yeah, as far as I
Wow.
remember, it was direct. I might have gone through Texas or something. I'm not too sure of exactly. But I know that Epstein picked me up at the airport. And he was driving, which was very unusual as well. And then there were a few other girls that he had there at the time, like Nadia Monchenko, the blonde girl who became the pilot. That was the first time I met her. And there were a couple of, Sarah Killen and, the usual people. And then when we were actually driving from the airport, I said to him, hey, Jeffrey, have you ever seen any aliens? Because we're near Roswell, But I, in my mind, like when I'd seen him shapeshift, I didn't connect it was alien. I didn't know. Anyway, the whole thing was just so weird. Anyway, he was very annoyed when I asked him about aliens because he said, yes, Juliette, they're little green men running around all over the place. He was like trying to shut me down. And because I asked him in front of people, because I was just sort of making a sort of casual joke. Because, back in the day, we didn't realize, like, how serious all of this is. And, it wasn't even a casual joke. I mean, I was just asking him out of interest. But he shut me down and he didn't like the question. And then we got there. And then, like I said, I actually, like, a lot of that time, I actually don't really remember very well. I've got some photographs I took when I was there. I can share them if you want to share them on the interview. Because the one day he was out and I went around and took some photos on this disposable camera I had. I felt like a bit naughty taking photos because I never took photos with him around, we weren't like allowed to just be free. We were very much being watched and monitored all the time. So yeah, it freaks me out a lot. Some people say I should go for hypnosis, and I actually have gone to a therapist for hypnosis. But I don't know if I'll be able to go back there. It's just, it was just very weird, and it's something, I need to think about it more and I guess heal emotionally to try and figure out more. But I mean, I do remember a lot of the weird things that happened, but there's probably more.
So when you were at the ranch, there were other girls there, and were there like staff, or I think, was that where you mentioned Michael Bay was?
Yeah, I mentioned Michael Bay there. There were, it was me and Tila Davies, another victim, and then the girl Nadia and Sarah Killen, and but Epstein was boasting that Michael Bay was there, and so I met Michael Bay in the kitchen. He again, I didn't see him around Epstein or anything. We just met him in the kitchen, and then off he went, and I don't know where and then Epstein got us to watch the movie The Rock that night, the movie about Alcatraz with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery. And then while they were watching the movie, I went outside to have a cigarette, and then that's when I saw the, like, 3 lights, like a triangle, like very bright, and then they started spinning, and then they like veered off. Like I saw it for like 1 or 2 minutes. It was definitely a UFO of some kind. And then when I tried to get back in the house, I was actually locked out, and I was petrified. I couldn't get back in. So I like went all the way around the house to try, because they were watching the movie all the way around the other side, and I eventually got someone's attention, but I was locked out there for about 20 minutes. And I'm pretty sure that this is when the whole laboratory incident sort of happened, because it was just, it's just hard to put a time and place on it all, because it was just so confusing. And obviously by that time I was also a mess, after being in this man's control, and it really, really buggered me up big time. So I just know that something more went on, and like I've been speaking about this for years, and people thought I was crazy, or I've had some amazing people who've believed me and been helping, but a lot of people didn't believe it. But now with all the files coming out, I think people are seeing that truth is often stranger than fiction.
I know, that's right. That is absolutely true. I'm the type of person that will really believe stories until I see proof that they didn't happen, whether that's paranormal or in the realm of crime. So the UFO is so interesting. So, and that, I mean, I have so many questions. Like, I have different theories about, like, are UFOs like angels, or are UFOs legit intergalactic extraterrestrial things, or are they government programs? I mean, it's so interesting to consider that you saw one near the ranch. And to describe it one more time, it was like just a triangle.
It was like
that was
3
moving.
triangle lights, and then they started spinning, but like in unison. So it must have been one craft, but it would have been very big. If it was one craft. And also, if you think about it, outside the New Mexico ranch, there's that whole area that almost looks like a UFO landing pad. And I definitely saw it. It was definitely there. And, I like you were saying, is it angels, demons? I suppose if they were angels and demons, you get good and bad, It's like yeah, like, you know, you get good and bad.
So we've talked about energy here. And obviously being in the paranormal, I'm a huge believer in energy and how locations can hold on to and trap that energy. And I'm really curious, first of all, what was the energy at Zorro Ranch like just from a vibe perspective? Like, how did it feel? And then I guess if when you're done answering that, if you could kind of go through the different properties, like the townhouse, the Palm Beach mansion, the island, like what did the energies feel like at all these places you were taken to?
It was always very weird. There was like sort of like an electric weird energy. You know, even being around Epstein, like one felt like a scared mouse around a snake. It wasn't like meeting a normal person. Like there are even people who say that when they met him, this hairs on their neck stood up, you know, sort of thing, like where it's like gave you the heebie-jeebies. And it was like that at all those properties. It was just like a very, very weird energy and wasn't at all relaxing. Like, you know, we weren't allowed to just sort of cruise around or look at things. It was, you know, and also being a young person, you know, it was just very, very weird. And like, you know, everything that's coming out now, it's quite clear that there was like a lot more going on at these properties. And, you know, like also I said all the properties, they were all very different in design and furnishing. Because if it was one billionaire who owned all the properties, there would be like a sort of similar sort of style. You know, and that's also made me realize that Epstein didn't own all these properties. Even in his emails, he refers to the plane and the properties. You know, if it was his, he would have said my plane or my property. But it was obviously, it seems like an organization, you know, like a club of people, much like, you know, with Prince Andrew visiting in New York. I mean, he's a royal family person. Like, surely he can afford his own hotel, right? Why was he staying at Epstein's house? So it seems, you know, and the New York property was also decorated very much in a British style. So, you know, all the properties were very different it's just quite clear that it was like a sort of organization running them.
And what was the decorating like at Zorro Ranch? Because I found an email that was talking about how they wanted a painting of the massacre of the innocents, the painting of the Bible story where the babies are being slaughtered. It's like, to me, that's such a strange thing to have hanging. I can't remember who describes it, but in the entryway.
He had a crucifix artwork of Jesus. It was like 7 foot tall, like life size. I've got a picture of it that I took and I'll share it with you. Because, you know, everything was very expensive there. Everything was like adorned in gold, what is the word, and there were these expensive artworks, and it was very creepy, like almost like a museum. Like the New Mexico and New York were both sort of like museums, and then Palm Beach and the island were more sort of like basic. You know what I mean? And that's actually a good question what you ask, because I've never really put it like that. And Paris was also like a more expensive sort of property. You know, but again, I didn't see the whole thing. Even with the ranch, I didn't get to see the whole property. And in New York, I also didn't see the whole property. I was basically told to go to this room, you know, and then the one night I actually opened the window and crawled out to have a cigarette. And the next day, Epstein's security came to me out of a room and he said, did I open the window last night because they saw a change in temperature regulations? And I was like, no, you know, because I didn't want them to know I'd had a cigarette. I obviously never lie, but I don't want to get in trouble. And then we went into the room and he showed me that they had like a whole wall just full of TV screens, like 40 TV screens looking at everything. And he just said to me, just so you know, everything's being watched. Because I think obviously when I climbed out of the window, they probably got a security alert thinking that maybe someone was climbing in through the middle of the mansion to attack Epstein or something. You know, that's another weird thing, is that in the middle of that mansion, there's nothing. It's hollow in the middle. And then you look down, there's a big gold dome over what I'm assuming is this bedroom at the bottom. It was very creepy. And then they've also got like a sort of gold dome on the island. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot more going on. And, you know, apparently that New York mansion used to be a school. And, you know, they say Epstein used to be a maths teacher at the Dalton School. He never told me he was a teacher. He told me he was a cab driver. But, you know, it's quite clear that there have been a lot of lies going on here. And, yeah, so those were interesting questions you asked about the properties because they were all so different. It was like, you know, usually, like if you had 5 houses, you know, they're going to be sort of similar, right? If they're traveling from house to house, it's going to be similar sort of style. But, and most people don't have 5 houses like that. And also, like, the New Mexico, New York properties were the biggest in the place. I think the New York property might be one of the most expensive in New York. I'm not too sure on that, but I know that the New Mexico mansion is apparently one of the biggest properties in New Mexico. So it's just very suspicious, all of it.
Yeah, it's really weird because I've done like many videos on my channel of just kind of me going through. I've gone through tens of thousands, if not more, of just files and just one by one going through and just looking at the settings that Epstein surrounded himself with. And obviously, I mean, you've been there, but like the mansion and then the Palm Beach house and the island. And I've actually said in my videos, like, none of them look like they're owned by the same person. No. And they feel just so, they felt like really fakey. Like the New York mansion is like, it just feels so, it's got such an eerie, energetic vibe to me, just even through the screen.
Yeah, you're right. They're like sets, I suppose. It's like a set. It's not a horror where people are living and being comfortable. It's like a set. Yeah.
That's exactly what people have said too. You know, it looks just like a production area. And I wanted to ask you too, like, general vibe of Epstein and Maxwell. Like, what were they like as people? Because you hear like all the, obviously the horrific stories, and we know they're both pieces of shit, garbage human beings. But I'm more interested in, like, how did they act just normal day to day? Like, what were they like?
I mean, they were both very intimidating and frightening. Maxwell was highly educated and very sure of herself. Epstein also, like, no one messed with them. It was quite clear that they were running the place and you didn't want to try and take them on. Epstein was a bit more sort of funny and used to make more jokes. Like, Maxwell was very serious. But, like, Epstein would like making jokes at others' expense. It wasn't like, it was like, he was like just a very cool person who did it in a very subtle way of trying to, like, he'd poke someone in the stomach and be like, oh, you're getting fat. And, myself and other victims, we developed severe bulimia while we were there. It was so frightening because we were only allowed to eat so much. And then in the night, I'd go to the kitchen and get some chocolates and, then I'd throw it up because I didn't want to get fat. So, we were very much being controlled by them, and just no one wanted to stand up against them. Like, it was just too frightening. I suppose also if one tried to do anything, like, they would have been able to do away with someone pretty easily on that island, right? Just toss them under the hatch or in the sea, drop them out of the plane on the way. You just never know, what these people are capable of. Even like I met him with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey. Apparently Bill Clinton's got like 55 friends who've committed something or been found dead. And, with Spacey, there were 12 accusers and they were going to have a lawsuit against him, and 3 of them were found dead in 1 year. So it seems like his friends have got body counts. So I think, birds of a feather flock together. And it's, quite clear that they've got their own body count. Well, a lot of the victims that I met there haven't come out publicly. So, I mean, I hope to God that they're alive and well, because there are very few of the girls that I actually met there whose names are out in the news. And, it's horrific, all of it. I mean, also, as we know, there have been a number of Epstein staff who've been sort of found dead in weird situations. And, a lot of the Epstein victims have been found dead, like Virginia Gifford, Carolyn Andriano, Lee Sky Patrick, Ruslana. There was another one I read about yesterday. It's quite, I think the thing is that they were so clever about it that if someone pissed them off, they would just go missing and no one would ever know it had anything to do with them. Like, even before I sent home, he told me he worked with the CIA. He said he had my family's name on a list. And he told me that a girl who accused him of rape, he planted drugs in her apartment and had her sent to prison. So he made it quite clear that, you didn't want to mess with the man, especially not as a young, poor girl from Africa. It was certainly not, I wish I'd been strong enough to take them on, but unfortunately I wasn't. But, over all these years, I feel stronger to take them on now. Somehow. Or try.
What about the blackmail angle and intelligence ties? Is there anything? I mean, I know you talk about feeling watched, and there's the wall of screens. But was there anything else you picked up that would point to there being this being an operation versus like a pleasure ring?
Well,
if that makes sense.
See, I didn't, not when I was there, because apart from him telling me he worked for the CIA, these people are very clever. They're going to hide things away. And also, I think anyone who caught on too much would be likely dead by now. So I think that's also, it was just, as a young person, difficult being around them. But as people are saying now, it's quite clear that they're tied up with intelligent assets. I mean, even Michael Bay, who I met there, who made The Island, apparently he also met the CIA. I've seen in through research I've done, that apparently Robert Maxwell and Leslie Wexner, who, Maxwell's father, and Wexner, who worked with Epstein, apparently they were both part of Mossad in the 80s, which will be tied in with the CIA. So, I mean, it's quite obvious that he's working with intelligence. Also, myself and other victims have got a lawsuit currently going against the FBI, because just after Epstein died, they arranged emergency visas for my child and I, because they wanted to apparently interview me. And basically, when my child's father wouldn't let us travel, so when we weren't able to go to America, they suddenly didn't want to interview me anymore. They only wanted to do it in person. And as we know, a lot of interviews are done on Zoom, online, like we're doing right now, especially during COVID. But they never wanted to interview me. So they made it out like they really had to. But then when I couldn't go there, they didn't go ahead with it. So it's like they only wanted to do it in person. They didn't want to do it online. So they weren't interested in my statement, clearly. They were interested in doing something else. Because, other victims who went there, bad things have happened to them after. I mean, Sarah Ransom tried to kill when she got back from there, and Virginia Gaffer, God bless her soul, is now dead. So it's just, there's clearly something, a lot more going on here. And even also with the recent contract I was assigned to the FBI, they were trying to take away my freedom of speech, saying that I'm not allowed to speak online or post anything without a lawyer's consent. But I had that clause removed. But you see, maybe some other girls signed it, or, also they've got a mental health program, which I'm not going for. The Virgin Islands have given $10 million to the victims so that they can have therapy. I very much wanted to go ahead with it. I was going to, but then they said a psychiatrist has to administer it. So I think maybe a lot of the girls are very traumatized. You can just shut someone up with tranquilizers pretty easily. They put me on them when I got back from Epstein. But luckily I did, that was a short-term period. But it was for a year, and I couldn't leave my house for a year. I was a real mess.
How did you end your time with Epstein and Maxwell? How did this all end?
Well, I became useless to them because basically he offered me $2,000 if I'd bring him any young girls, or he offered me $4,000 a month if I'd stay there. And, he was willing to pay for me to study or whatever, but I didn't want to be there. I didn't like being there, and I didn't want their dirty money. So, I wasn't paid anything by them. They gave me $500 once, to get a visa, and $300 another time to get a taxi to the airport. But you see, I think that's another way they've trapped a lot of young girls, is because the girls feel complicit. Because, if a girl's offered $2,000, and this is 20 years ago, that's a lot of money. If you're offering a young girl who's having a very hard time that amount of money, then they might get involved in it. So I think what happened is also the last time I saw him, the last time he took me there, I was 22. So, and also I'd put on weight and I'd become severely bulimic. I was a mess. So I guess I got out of his grasps from being disobedient and not doing what he wanted, and also not going ahead with, finding young girls for him or any of that. So I would say that's probably why I managed to get away. But, I like a lot of people know their emails, but I was emailing him years later because I was petrified, and he had a horrible hold over my head. He also emailed me a lot in 2000, not a lot, but it would happen every year or two. I mean, every once or twice a year, there'd be a weird email between him and I. He asked me about Sarah Ransom and if I knew her, if she was a friend of mine, because when her and Virginia Gaffer were coming out against him. So, I was just petrified, but luckily I got away, and I suppose I got away because I was useless to them, because I wasn't going to partake in their evil scheme.
It's always strange to me, and this is not to sound like extremist or anything, but it's strange that they would allow someone like you to actually just walk away, and they wouldn't try to, you know, like end your life when you hear that from so many people.
I've had my drink poisoned many times. I almost wonder if they have tried to kill me. I don't know, but also, yeah, and I've had some serious things happen like that, where my drink's been spiked. But also, I used to feel like he was watching me through my camera on my computer. That's also why I used to sometimes email him, and he'd always email back like quickly. And I didn't see as much as perhaps some other people saw, so they might have thought I was just a stupid young girl from Africa and I wasn't going to figure it out. But, there's another side where I've started to wonder if maybe Epstein knew that they were going to come after him one day, and he sort of left those disposable cameras in the kitchen and sort of so that and gave me the pelvic exam, like, obviously, so that, like, one day I might figure it out. Because, I don't really know. But the thing is, he's obviously been working with a big group of people. And it looks like they've just blamed him for everything, which obviously he's a very bad man, a very evil man being involved in things like this. But, one's got to remember that there's a whole business behind it. Like, for instance, JP Morgan and Epstein had $1 billion worth of human trafficking transactions through their accounts. So, we can assume that Epstein was a recipient, the bank is the intermediary, and so who's the sender? Who are the senders? I think that's what people need to look into. And so I don't know if I was let to live because of, maybe he knew that they were eventually going to come after him. Also, when I was there, the Vanity Fair article came out about him, and he got very freaked out about all that. And so
When was that? That was like 2004.
It was 2004 when it came out, because I was actually there when it came out, because he was in no state about it all, and that was the last time he flew me there. So you see, it might also be that he couldn't really fly people around so much anymore. But the thing is also, I was 22 by that time, and as we know, Epstein didn't like girls who were over 22. And, also, I really don't know why they let me go, but I'm very, very grateful to be alive.
Me too. I mean, obviously, I'm so glad you're here, and you've been such an inspiration, not only just for fellow Epstein survivors, but just for anybody around the world that has suffered, or been victimized in that way. You've been such an amazing example that people can follow, and you've saved, I'm sure, countless lives just by telling your stories. It's absolutely incredible. Because even I hear from people that watch or listen to my program and say, I got the courage to tell whatever this person about what was happening to me, hearing this person talk. And so through your story, oh my God, I'm sure there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that have been saved. So you're absolutely such an incredible person and influence. And I'm so happy that you're here. I'm happy. I'm not happy that we're having this conversation because of how horrific the subject matter is, but I am so happy that I'm just glad that you're here. And I'm really thankful for that.
Thanks so much, Colin. I'm really glad you're here too, and thank you for helping and, to shed more light on all of this. Even if everything I did just help one person, it would be well worth it. And I just, so many people are hurt in this world, and that's another reason I started speaking out, because if Epstein victims aren't able to speak in the mainstream media, then what about other victims of other horrendous crimes? Coming from a place like Africa, it hits me hard. Children go missing. Is it not going to be put in the media? They put what they want there because they own the media. People like Ghislaine Maxwell's family used to own the media. Own the media, own the mind, own the world. It's horrific. So, I hope that more and more people speak out, and, especially victims of horrible crimes and victims of the thing is to just find a good network of people that you can trust and to slowly get away in a safe way. Because it's horrible what happens to people.
So I have a few more questions. Is that okay? I don't want to keep you too long.
No, of course.
How did you feel it, and how did you take it when you learned that Epstein had died? What was your first reaction hearing that news?
It was such a shock, to be honest, because I thought that he was the kind of person where he was, he ran the world. He made it out like he was invincible and he ran things. So also it was a shock because like all the control he'd ever had over me sort of just snapped. It went, and I suddenly wasn't so frightened anymore. The scary thing is I don't even know if he is dead, actually, because there's a lot of speculation as to whether, with their cloning labs and everything, they could have just sent a clone to jail. We don't know if he's alive or not. But yeah, it was a shock and then like a relief and, and also just, it was mainly just a shock actually, because I'd been so like frozen from it all for so long. And then slowly things started to sort of untangle and, my brother paid for me to see therapists at the time, which helped hugely. And I managed to sort of, and also I was going through the whole legal process against the estate and, the lawyers helped me realize a lot because, in my mind, he made it out like I was a bad person and I was a junkie because I smoke weed. And he made it out like I was a poor little nothing from Africa. So he just made me feel like I should be really grateful to be there at all. So you see, in my mind, I didn't even realize, like I knew that obviously I'd been conned, like they lied to me and said they're taking me there for modeling. But he made it up like, oh, I'm not pretty enough for modeling or I'm too fat or whatever. And I wasn't good enough and I was an embarrassment. And so you see, he had a way of sort of trying to break people down, in that way. So it basically killed my self-esteem and I never told my family or anyone what happened. I only told my one boyfriend. Until Epstein died, I never told anyone what happened except for one person. So, yeah, that's why I feel terribly sorry for a lot of the other girls who've been through all of this because it wasn't an easy situation to be in at all.
That news broke. It was like he can breathe.
Yeah.
Like he's...
But then he was coming
gone,
for me in my dreams. I had so many nightmares after that of him coming for me, and I dreamt he was waiting for me in my house. In my dream, I went in my house and he was waiting there for me, and I was like, so I had a lot of trauma, of course, to, the detangling of the trauma, I suppose, is what it is really. And I also came back to myself, and also 5 months before Epstein died, I became a mum for the first time, and. Much like Virginia Gaffer, I think when you have a child and you realize how evil these people are, it sort of, there's a maternal instinct that comes out in you as a parent, like a lioness. I mean, you realize that, it just changes one to become a mum and also just, I stopped going out. I'm at home with my little boy all the time. So, I used to go out and to parties and drink and just to try to escape, the stress of everything. So I guess I've had to face a lot of things and I've had time to sort of process. I'm obviously still on my way doing that because it doesn't happen overnight. But, slowly the psychological hold he had started to untangle and I started to also, when I got the settlement money, I was able to get off the hamster wheel of life because, I used to sell property. I also worked in a restaurant before. I've done many jobs. I have an e-commerce business. So, I was able to sort of step away from work and really like look into things and also get therapy and go through the trauma and also write things down and do more research. And then I started to just see more and more of how shocking it all is, and how much we've all been lied to as humans and all.
It's hard to believe. I mean, wow, talk about hard to believe. As you know, Ghislaine is trying to get out of prison now. And I'm sure that you have some thoughts on that and her proclaiming essentially that she's innocent. And, she stated that if Trump gives her clemency, she will tell the full and honest truth. So is Ghislaine Maxwell a good person?
I mean, look, her father alone stole money from 36,000 pensioners, not from one, from 36,000 pensioners. They're obviously criminals of the worst kind. I know people who were involved in all that where people they know were murdered. Anyone who tried to sort of take them on for their money being stolen, murders. it's a serious crime to steal money from that many people. No, she's obviously a very, very bad person, and and also pleading the fifth. I think it's a load of bullshit. Like it's much like when they said they're going to release the Epstein files, and everyone's sitting waiting, and then why do they even bother to do an interview where someone just pleads the fifth? It's a waste of everyone's time. I think she ought to speak out as soon as possible for her soul, because otherwise she'll be rotting in hell for eternity. She most certainly should not be getting out of prison after everything that's happened, and I suggest that she tells people the truth. I did an article with the BBC yesterday also speaking about Maxwell and how, Prince Andrew, his files should be analysed. They released my emails, they went through all my information, and I was never working with these bad people. But, they should look at their files. They should be releasing, like, where are all Maxwell's emails? I mean, I'm not sure if there are any. And, they've obviously gone and filtered through and taken out a lot of the important stuff. And it's quite clear that she's a very evil woman from a very evil family. And I hope that, she finds redemption somehow. But I don't know how that's going to happen after, if everything they're saying is, everything in these files is accurate. I mean, I would suggest that she tells everyone the truth as soon as possible.
Do you think that the DOJ has, in America, has been actually serving any justice
They've
here?
released all my emails, and they weren't supposed to. And the lawyers have actually told them that they've got to take them down, which they did very quickly. But, someone told me to tell them that. I was like, whatever, my emails are out. I don't care, I've got nothing to hide. Well, obviously it's hurtful because people are going to point fingers at me and think I was his friend, which I certainly wasn't. I was just petrified. But, obviously the emails got onto the Gmail thing by then anyway, and whatever. I want the truth out, and people can read my emails. I don't care. They can bore themselves reading it. Because, I wasn't exactly saying we're buying muffins and steaks and pizza. My emails were just, I didn't know anything about all of that. But, basically, I think, they've covered up a lot here, and I think the DOJ has done a shit job. A horrific job. Apparently I could actually sue them for what they've done, because it's not right. Like, why are they wasting people's time reading my emails when there's more serious stuff going on here? Shouldn't they be releasing Prince Andrew's and Maxwell's emails instead? Where are those emails? But there's obviously, like, a narrative that they're trying to control here, and I suppose because I've been speaking out, created my own community of amazing people helping, they don't like it. So they want to try and tarnish my reputation, and apparently I could sue them for doing this. And maybe I just will, because F them. Sorry, I don't want to swear, but it's just bullshit. How dare they? And they also released, like, my legal documents, and I was never notified of any of this. And then aren't they supposed to be redacting victims' names? No, they leave my name there, and then they, like, redact everyone else's names. Well, that's great, isn't it? It just shows what bastards they are and what liars they are. Yeah, so I'm not very happy. I'm actually furious at what they've done, and I think they can all rot in hell.
Yeah, and it's clear that there's no investigation or anything like that has really happened or is going to happen. I mean, especially when you got someone like Pam Bondi, who I just absolutely despise, who gets defensive when even asked just a simple question about the handling of the files. I mean, it's a total shit show, and I can't believe that this is...
It's absolutely despicable. And like I've been saying recently, it's not just the Epstein victims who are victims of this, it's the public are victims of this now too. Because it's been dragging on for a long time, and it's hurt people very badly, and it's about time that they told the truth. So I'm relieved that these emails have been released, okay? But the thing is, like, they haven't done a very good job of it. And, I think that we need to look into, like, people like I was saying, Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell's emails. Because where are those emails?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and what's the point of releasing the emails and all of this if nothing's
exactly.
going to
These
come
people
from it?
need to be held accountable. Because that's what happened before. Is like, names get put out there and then no one does anything about it. So what are they going to do? Apparently in Poland they're investigating all the people. There are a couple of countries where they're going to be investigating people on the files. But, in America, what are they going to be doing about it? Like, how is this going to make a difference? It's great that it's out, but what are they actually going to do about it?
Well, hopefully, just people like you continuing to speak out, individuals who have platforms hopefully continuing to speak about this and getting the public at least aware and awake and conscious of what has been going on and what is going on. And you know, for me, the goal is to get people angry, because it's like we need people to feel that outrage at the government. And I'm hoping that soon something will change and somebody will do something. But you know, until then, I just don't have any faith in the DOJ at all.
What you said is amazing.
Zero.
You're quite correct, because it's like a chain reaction, you know, and it's also like the domino effect, like with these bastards. Like you capture one and then, you know, it's a domino effect. And a chain reaction within people being horrified and disgusted. I don't think it would be a very good idea for Bill Gates or Bill Clinton to go out in public again. You know, I think they're in danger now. So I suppose, like you're saying, it's a mass awakening. Even if the people in positions of power who are supposed to do something about it won't, the people will do something about it. And that's the thing, is what we need to realize. There are more of us than there are of them, and there's great safety in numbers.
It's true. And I mean, the numbers, it's all of us. We're the ones that can facilitate this change. At least I believe, you know. And that's what is crazy to me. Like, I did a whole documentary on the Marc Dutroux ring in Belgium. And I went to like his properties in Belgium and went to these chateaus where children have been trafficked and everything. And they had those marches in Belgium, and they had 300,000 plus people protesting the government's handling of this ring scandal. And then here in America, we haven't even had one protest, and this thing is like 10 times bigger than that scandal was in Belgium. And that's what I think we need.
Yeah.
We need to see people like on the streets getting pissed. That's what needs to happen.
If they don't make things right quickly, I think that's why they don't want the media to know about, you know, the general public to know too much about these files yet, because they know that people are going to react. There will be riots, and, you know, these bastards won't be safe anymore. So I think they're trying to like sort of slowly let people know. But yeah, you're totally right. You know, people aren't going to like this, and as people start to slowly wake up, you're going to see a big change happening. People won't be trusting these people in positions of power anymore. I mean, who are people going to vote for next time round? Who are they going to vote for now?
It's a good question. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see.
Well, we vote for ourselves. That's who we vote for. We vote for goodness.
Yeah,
We vote for love, you know? At the end of the day, we don't need some idiot running the country. Because actually, you just need a good group of people doing it. And if people aren't being lied to, then actually the world will completely change. Because there's a lot of bullshit that comes out of the media, like racial segregation and religious fights. A lot of stuff that actually doesn't apply to any of us. Because all most people want is to have a happy life and look after their families. You know, we all have that in common. But they try to make people fight each other because they don't want us fighting then. But I think it's got to the point where people have had enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the side where I would love to see a full-on revolution, like dismantling of the current system, because it's so just broken and it doesn't matter, and it's just so far beyond where it even used to be that it's like it's just a joke nowadays. But yeah, I mean, the truth lies within us, and it's going back to esoteric spiritualism and all of that. It's all the powers within. You got to look inside to grow, and you got to look inside and put out into the universe the kind of energy that you want to receive back. So if you put out shit energy all the time, you're going to have a terrible life. But even if you're in the worst of circumstances and you put out that good energy and you fight for justice and truth, I feel like that just comes back to you, and you feel that reflected. But
you're totally right. And I saw an amazing saying recently where it's like, you know, we get night and day on short cycles. Apparently, like in the universe, we've been through 600 days of darkness, and we're actually coming to light now. And you know, like they say, vampires can't survive in proper light. And I think it's like a vibration and an energy where these bad people won't be able to stay around anymore. So I really believe that we're coming to a time of goodness and light, because it's been a really, really hard time for the world for, you know, a couple of 100 years. I mean, if you think about all the wars that have been happening, and there's been a lot of injustice, a lot of good people have been murdered. And I think, the internet's helped with sort of raising awareness and getting people speaking together. Obviously, the internet can also be a bad thing. So I think people need to be careful about what they're looking at and spend more time researching and helping and doing good, because it's very easy to fall into the internet. It's like an abyss. You can fall on these TikTok shows. It's like, and then after like an hour, you've been sitting there, you're like, what have I been doing? You know what I mean?
I know the
Brain
feeling
rotting.
very well.
Yeah.
Brain rotting is a perfect way to describe that.
Yeah.
So I got two final little questions. One, I know I saw that you obviously had your diary. Is there any like passage from the diary you'd be comfortable with reading or sharing?
Yeah,
Because
I wasn't. Okay, well, my diary, I was more like writing down what was happening. I'm not like one of those people who journals like what's happening. Like you can see, like I was studying at university, and you can see like I had like okay, my diary's messy, okay, because
we see the best in people, and often there is goodness in
and no need to explain. I get it. Mine
you can
was
see,
too.
like here you can see. I wrote here that I met Clinton. I wrote in pencil. Met Clinton, Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker. That happened on the 26th of September. So it's sort of basic journal entries where I was like, what to pack for New York, which modeling agencies am I going to be joining. I wrote down a few dreams and stuff in here. But this is the day I got back from there. Look how disturbed I was, because I started painting. That's when I got back. The day I got back from there after they took me. And it's a weird picture I drew, because you can see in the rest of my diary, I didn't really draw things like that. The rest of my diary is pretty, but then that's when the day I got back from there. So, I can send some photos of this also so that people can see it more clearly. But, it just basically had like the flight details and like things like that in there. I wasn't like writing, a whole lot of personal like things about how I was feeling and stuff. I was more like my diary was for writing down appointments and things to get ready, you know what I mean, for traveling and all that.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Wow. All right, last question, and it is kind of serious, but to the people who will watch/listen to this, who may be survivors themselves of violence or any sort of crime, trafficking related or related, what would your message be to those people who might be listening right now?
Well, firstly, I'm just so sorry for anyone who's being hurt. And the most important thing is to get strong, slowly but surely, and to also find a good network of people you can trust. If you're in a dangerous position, don't let the person know that you're going to be getting away. But the thing is to just get lots of sleep and try eat healthily and build yourself up, because a lot of people who it's hard for them to even rest. And just to just find a good network of people who can really help. If you can call up to law enforcement in your area, I would suggest doing that. And just to get away as quickly as possible. Because, a lot of terrible things happen to people, and the most important thing is to get help quickly from the right people, and to just get strong and to get away slowly, not quickly, but to slowly distance yourself and, then get out of there. But find people that you can trust first.
Well, I think we're good, unless there's anything else you want to say. I know we're gonna probably end up talking again.
Yes, definitely do another one. And it was like so great chatting to you.
At the end of the day, wow. I mean, the Epstein story is crazy. I mean, there's so much that goes into Epstein and the Epstein orbit. But I found Juliette's contributions and her thoughts, I found those to be incredibly compelling, because she brought in almost a paranormal spiritual element to the story, which I've seen other survivors talk about, but to hear it from Juliette, and then after hearing these stories, to see the photos she sent me of her like on the island mid-trafficking, I don't know, it's crazy. Like seeing a shadow form of Epstein with horns. I mean, that's so far out beyond the realms of comprehension for most individuals. And for me, myself, honestly, I mean, I've never seen something truly like that. I've seen a shadow figure wearing a hat, and I've seen obviously tons of weird little paranormal things, but I've never seen someone transform obviously like that But do I believe her? Yes, I do believe her. I believe that's what she saw. And that's what we need to do. We need to believe survivors, because that's what we haven't been doing for decades. And it's time that narrative is switched around. Because, yeah, listening to what she had to say was, I mean, horrific. But Juliette is, once again, just like Beatrice, an incredibly, incredibly strong person. And it's these women that are going to change the world. And it's the courageousness of these women that has helped break this story open, teach people about this issue, and they've saved countless lives. I mean, truly, I get emotional talking about it, but I mean, I said it with both Beatrice and Juliette. You know, we all talked about it. If they could save one life, then they both said it's worth it, but I'm sure that they've saved thousands, if not tens of thousands. And yeah, so that's today's episode. We will be back next week with another paranormal episode, but things are going to be changing here soon, and we're going to have to sit down and have a little bit of a talk when it comes to that. But you know that I love each and every one of you guys so much. Thank you all for supporting the show for so many years and for being here. Truly, you guys have made my dreams come true. And for me, I have always wanted to use my platforms for change. I've argued against racism. I've gotten into fights with Confederates online. I've called out Nazis online. I have lobbied for the construction of memorials dedicated to victims of racial violence, which they actually ended up building, which was cool. I was featured on the local news for that. I don't know if I played any part in it, but you know, I'd like to think that I somewhat did, because I was on the news and I started a petition that got thousands of signatures, and I blasted it out on my socials, and then they finally, after decades, built the monument. But yeah, now that I have these platforms, I've wanted to dedicate them to topics that I believe in. And for me, that is the exposing of organized, I might have to censor that word, but it's something that no one has talked about, that survivors have been trying to talk about for years, that I'm connected to, that for like just my own story, I was almost victimized when I was younger, and I just narrowly escaped. And yeah, working with these victims and survivors, it's just, I can't even describe it to y'all. I've cried. I've become infuriated with the system. I've had many hugs, swapped many words of not only encouragement, but gratitude and thankfulness. And I know that I'm on the right path, and this is what I just am destined to do. And there are people that are not going to like these series that we've been working on, but when you guys see what's coming, you will understand why this has been a thing for so long. And I'm so excited to share that with y'all. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us today. I love y'all so much. Please try to stay up to date on the news, because this is obviously a rapidly evolving story. And yeah, stay spooky.